Ladies and gentlemen, I have great news. We have done it. It only took resetting every software on my entire computer, but we have done it. I hope you can all hear me. Even the Blue Yeti is working. Look at this. I'm sorry I'm very loud right now. Alright, wait a minute. We are back in business here, folks. Let's get it going. Sorry about the wait there, everybody. And I know that I'm hard to hear because I'm being picked up in the mic that is on the floor. That is how dire this has gotten. But we're good. We did some working around there. Again, first time. This is why I wanted to start plenty before we ever got into a race. Let me know. You guys should hear me pretty loud and clear. Looks on my end like we're okay. Everybody, if I can get some confirmation in the chat. I can see all your chats now, and I see that they're actually showing up on broadcast. It's not saying that you guys have disappeared, or it's not updating. So we're gonna play it by ear. Fun little sound. There's little sound effects happening. I just want to make sure that we've got everything on screen displaying. It's just a question of, are they working as intended? So if I can just get confirmation, sounds good. All right, thank you, Michael. We are in business. I'm not seeing things popping up right this moment, but we're at least theoretically in a good place. We're just gonna take my stuff out here. Alrighty. Put this little guy in the corner. Well, let me know. I think it should have just come back online. Some of you guys may have been kicked out. Hopefully those that did found their way back in here all right. But what we're doing here is you're going to see in a moment, you should have it on your screen down there in the bottom corner. I'm going to run those of you that are currently on stream through for our fun little game we're going to have here in the next 10 minutes. And if it doesn't work, we may just need to decide on a race, or by we, I mean me. But essentially what we're going to do is you're going to have an option on the bottom corner of your screen. So for the first race, again, as I said, the second one we're doing later tonight is going to be a league. The first one I'm just going to do an official race, just one of the set iRacing options. And there's going to be two options. So you'll see in the bottom corner, your choices for tonight are either I will race a Porsche GT3 car. So this is a car that you'll see on the left side of your screen that is commonly run in IMSA in North America. It is this beautiful paint right here that I've run for a number of years in a variety of series. You got my signature plaid coloring here. Comes in orange as the flavor of choice, and a little bit of Full Send Racing Network tribute, even though I haven't run the brand in a number of years. We have the signature Porsche front mouth, the kind of Spitfire style teeth, and then you got the Alpine Stars, the Rogue Energy, a couple of various sponsors, including the Northern Nightmare on the back, just is my little nickname for this beautiful beast. So either we're going to be running this car in Japan at a track called Motegi, which is both an oval and a road course layout. We're going to be running the road course layout if we choose that in only 7 short minutes time. On the other side of it, we're going to be running, if you choose option 2, which I will explain in just a moment, we're going to be running a Formula car, particularly the Formula 3, if I can find it here. It goes by a goofy name on iRacing. That's not it. Fun car. It's not the one we're looking for. It goes by a somewhat goofy name here on iRacing, if I can find it. It's under those of you that are big iRacing fans that may be in the chat. I know I got a couple people coming from an iRacing background. If you can remember what the iRacing F3 is called, it'll be right here once it pops up. This is the list of races we'll be picking from in just a moment. It is the Dallara F3. They put the Dallara chassis in front of it. So this is just me talking out loud to find where we're going. There we go. Unfortunately, I did not have time to make a custom paint for this scheme. We're going to be repping the Johnny Walker throwback livery here, should this be what we decide. For whatever reason, I am not seeing any of my overlay displays light up. So we are going to maybe try updating them one more time. I'm seeing 2. Things are updating. I don't know if they're true. I hope they're true. I keep hearing little sound effects. Don't know what those mean either, but again, we're learning here together. It's early on, and let me see if I can find our stream on my side. One more time. Alrighty there. Again, we're going to be getting in. We're going to be going into racing. As we kind of go through, I'm going to kind of break down sort of, little decisions, the background of racing. Basically going to talk through it like I'm a fly on the wall, like I'm my own spotter here tonight. Shout out to the best spotter of all of them, my dad, Marshall Crocker Sr., who is the spotter extraordinaire. I'm just going to send out this link. Yeah, the sound effect is going to get annoying, and I may see if I can remove the sound from it. I'm just going to send out this new link. For those of you that are in the chat, can you just let me know, is this currently being broadcasted from the same YouTube link that I had sent out originally, or is this now on a different stream? It should be the same one, and if it is, if you want to let people know that we're kind of put off there at the beginning that we are now in a new location, as I kind of figure out the sound effect we're having issues with. Let's turn that bad boy off. One final thing I just want to mention, as I have found the setting, and it is promptly being turned off. But what I'm going to offer as well, so those of you that want to vote, either throw in the chat. We have a few, small enough number of people here that we can always just, how to go to the profile. All right, so we're going to resend different link. Perfect. Thank you for letting me know. Is it called the right thing? A different link, but is it currently called the correct name? If so, I'm going to get the link back out there. Right. We're getting very close. I'm just very quickly going to switch microphones so I can properly two-hand this operation the rest of the way. Alrighty. Alright, same title. Perfect. So headset is now on. We're going to get ready into race mode here as we kind of cycle through. So those of you just in here, unfortunately, we're not going to have the entire poll set up that I was hoping to. But those in the chat, let me know. Are we thinking Formula 3 here at Spa-Francorchamps, which is a Formula 1 track in Belgium? Or are we thinking our beautiful Porsche in Japan? Everybody let me know. We're also having trouble with the lights that those of you may notice have gone out. Within the room, the lights were a little bit weak. Yeah, throw some votes in. The format that Michael just did there is the correct way to do it. So throw some messages in the chat there. We'll see if it works out as anticipated. We're just gonna refresh it, make sure it works. If vote 1 doesn't work, in my testing, it just the exclamation point and then the phrase vote 1 was all it took to get it to work. If it doesn't, try the exclamation point vote, exclamation point vote number. But we will count that as a GT3 vote for the time being as we continue to figure our stuff out here. So if I can ask a favor, potentially. No, we should be good. The sound effect continues to happen, and if I can just figure out what it's coming from, I will absolutely kill it to death and make it disappear. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. All right. Link is here. We're just going to send it out to the relevant channels, and we will be good to go. We're going to be in a race mode. We'll get a vote in, Nick, if you want to throw a vote in here last minute. We'll decide. I'm pretty happy to do a Porsche if there is interest here. And we will get started and hope the rest of the broadcast goes a little smoother. Alrighty, sharing this around. If somebody happens to want to throw this in the Instagram, and Michael or Nick, you know which one I'm referring to, please feel free, and that way we can kind of get this show on the road, and then hopefully we can get it fixed under the old link at some point later. Alrighty, we're gonna hop into iRacing's side of things. I am luckily starting to see the chat. Vote 2 from a couple people. Vote 2 for quite a number. All right, thank you guys. We are going to go the Formula 3 route then, which should be fun. Unfortunately, this is a for those of you that don't understand how they work. There's a fixed setup option and there's an open setup option on iRacing, essentially giving you flexibility to design your personal setup the way you choose. Some series have quite a few more setup options based on the real car, because long story short, cars can be very simple or they can be very complex, and even the most simple of race cars have quite a bit of nuance to them. So we're going to put you guys in the proper formation we're going to be in for the remainder of the broadcast, which is going to be this lovely setup. You'll see the chat there on the bottom. You guys can all chat away, and we're going to have our full timing tower up on the side, which is going to be empty for the time being. You'll see it will look normal here in a few moments And we are just waiting for iRacing to process my registration, which should just take a moment. And then we're going to load in and get into it. Again, apologies on the lighting here. In fact, if this is going to be the situation we're left with, it's a little dark. I may see if we can swap some batteries out and a few lights. These are the bad boys we're working with, and the batteries for them are very weak, much weaker than I was remembering in terms of battery power. I'm going to turn this away to not accidentally blind my lovely audience out there. Alrighty, session is good. We are good to go on this side. Alrighty. Getting into it, you'll see the track map there. Yeah, it is straight up just the batteries are conking out on me. So, alright, well, clearly you can charge a battery to full, but it can't do more than 15 minutes, unfortunately. The world we live in. Yeah, it's a little dark. It's not as bad as I was worrying, but it is a little bit irritating. Getting into it though, we're gonna crack open a beverage here. Gonna be about a 2-hour stream. I'm gonna estimate maybe just over. We're gonna be doing this race, and then we're going to be doing the Old Guys Racing League. It's a series called Draft Masters, which is a very fun name. We're gonna be racing at Nashville Superspeedway, which is a pretty quintessential, I would say, NASCAR experience. So those of you who come from a background that maybe don't know what NASCAR oval racing looks like, well, that will be a good introduction for you. Tip this down a little bit, just make sure you guys get the full range of motion. Probably not going to see the wheel, might be just a little bit out of frame for you. The drink of choice, great question there, Michael. So unfortunately, here's the situation we're left with. As I'm going to turn this little light on, I'm going to be using a desk lamp here. It's going to be my backup option. Looks a little spooky, but actually, not the end of the world. It's a worse backlight. We're not going to do that. The drink of choice this evening is Monster Energy. You may be familiar, those of you that are familiar with my neighborhood, my neck of the woods, the Circle K 3-drink deal that they usually do. And this is actually a nice little orange effect we're doing for Full Send Racing Network. The 3-drink deal only applies to the 2 for $6 now. So we did not splurge on Monster Energy as we usually do. Monster Energy Zero is the drink of choice here on Full Send Racing Network. Today we're going with the orange flavor in honor of Full Send Racing Network's orange color scheme. Also because they didn't have the best flavor, as those of you out there know, which is white. There is no doubt in my mind that white is always the superior Monster Energy flavor. The zero sugar, that's like a designed zero sugar flavor, is also quite solid, but it's a little bit strong. And I don't know if you guys are familiar. I know you've all probably seen the packaging that comes on certain energy drinks and anything with like a high either caloric content or a high caffeine content. But there's just a warning on the Monster Energy Zero Sugar can, the one that's like not a flavor, just the generic. Rogue Energy is a great show. They just don't sell it, unfortunately, here in Canada. You have to order it. Those of you at Rogue Energy, I've been running your paint schemes for a number of years. They sent me this actual glass that we're drinking it out of today. Let me get the logo up there for you. Get some free advertising. I was close with a guy that used to represent them back in the day. So I used to actually have a decent supply. We have long since went through it, so we're in the Monster Energy lifestyle. But what I was saying is the warning on that Monster Energy packaging, there's just a general warning. It says warning and then has the little label, and there's a gap there where you would then expect information about what they're warning you of, where you'd expect it to go. But it's just not. They just don't tell you. So a little bit worrying. Those of you out there, maybe just don't drink the generic flavor of Monster Zero, as it may cause long-term health effects. So what we're going to do here, as we get into it, is we're going to do some qualifying. This is the very first race of the new kind of mini series, new kind of show. Hoping there's not too much of a pressure to perform here. The only thing I'm going to ask here as we get into qualifying, I'm going to kind of walk you guys through it. Just let me know how the audio levels are for the car volume. I tested it out pre-race. This should be pretty all right. You guys are going to see it a little laggier in terms of the game speed than I have it on my side, but hopefully you guys don't find it too unbearable. But just let me know about the volume. Looks a little peaky, a little bit loud on my side, but we will adjust it once we're off track here. 8 minutes of qualifying, you get an opportunity to run 2 laps here. And just to give you a little bit of information about the Formula 3, for those of you that aren't too familiar with Formula Racing, all of you out there are probably familiar with Formula 1, which, as you are well aware, is the premier kind of racing series in all of the world. All the big names, all the Michael Schumachers, the Ayrton Sennas of the world all come from a Formula 1 background. But Formula 3 is kind of an interesting series. It's technically a feeder series, just as a lot of the Formula series are in the what's called the FIA, which is Formula 1's kind of big overarching sanctioning body. And Formula 3 is interesting because while you'd think it would just be a pure young people racing series, a lot of people, a lot of teams make a career living in like the younger junior Formula side of things. There are people, I believe, getting up into the ages of like high 20s, early 30s that are involved in Formula racing at a very low level. So either Formula 3, Formula 4, or the somewhat better Formula 2. Typically in racing, how you do at a lower level implies success at a higher level. But as I'll kind of talk about through this entire kind of mini-series, there are so many different levels to racing and so many different skills. So just because you're good at one series may not mean you're good at the next. Gonna kind of do a track walkthrough with you guys here as we get ready for our first qualifying lap. Coming through here into the long back straightaway. We're going to walk through in the race. As you'll come to find, I have not practiced for these particular tracks we're doing tonight. Just been a busy time, as I'm sure it is for all of you out there that are going through school in this this very tough March month. So we're just going to scooch this around, and maybe we picked the wrong time. All right, we're going to leave this camera until the end of qualifying. It's just been bugging me its position, but we're going to leave it. We're going to walk through this last little chicane here, and I'm going to walk you through the mindset as a racing driver of how you kind of want to approach these qualifying laps, how you want to treat the tires, but also how you want to maximize your fast lap. So, coming here to the first corner down the very short front straightaway, Spa has a very interesting pit exit that's actually, or pit lap that is shorter than the actual track surface you're cutting to go into the pits. We're going to take it easy here on this first lap. Those of you that will notice the sky here, now kind of a gloomy, not very happy day here at Spa-Francorchamps, and that is going to improve the track temperature in the sense it's going to get colder. Colder track temperature tends to imply more grip. There are a number of physics-based reasons that is the case, but we're not going to get too into them here in this particular stream. But yes, that means we're going to have more grip. You can kind of throw the car harder into turns, and you're going to see the gears. So the wheel maybe will show off in between races while we're waiting for our open wheel. Sorry, not open wheel. We're waiting for our closed wheel stock car race later when we do NASCARs at Nashville. I'll kind of walk you through a little bit what my wheel looks like and what we're seeing. But essentially what we're doing is paddle shifting to get up and down through the gears. And that gives you a little bit more flexibility instead of the H pattern where you kind of got to lull the car into a nice place. You got to lift off the gas, or sorry, you got to hit the gas, got to hit the clutch, got to shift. With the open wheel ladder, it's very simple, very linear. You just hit your pedal up and down to go up to the gears. The lower the gear, the more you accelerate, so the more you speed up. The higher the gear, the higher your top speed can be, but the worse your car accelerates. So the other factor too about lower gears is the lower your gear is, the more the car rotates, meaning the harder it turns into the corners. So up here, for example, we want the car to really drive in on entry. So we're going to give it about as much gear as it needs. We're going to wait on our side till we hear the engine stop revving at a high level. Once the engine gets quiet, that usually means you're in too high of a gear and you want to go down a little bit. And as we come off the final corner here, we're kind of just keeping it light here. Personally for me, I like to just be consistent. I like to put a time up on the board. We're going to go for a real stonker of a lap here, or at least as much of a lap as I can put up here on the second attempt. We're going to see the times going up on the left. You're not going to know these people more than likely. This is just an iRacing lobby I happen to be joining. But throughout the broadcast, it's going to give you an idea of where people are and where I stack up. All right, going to get ready here. Going to go a little bit silent here towards the start of the lap. We'll see if we can maybe put ourselves somewhere in the top 15. I think there's about 20 people in here. So let's take a crack at it.
14.15.
All right, coming down the main straightaway here. My favorite corner in all of World Motorsports here, known as Eau Rouge and Radion. Often people mix up the two. I believe Eau Rouge is the front half of the corner, that sweeping left. Radion is like that uphill famous right-hander. And every racing fan, every annoying F1 fan in the world will be very sure to remind you of that every chance you mention it. Coming through here, the final corner, I tend to use this curb as a braking marker. Kind of try to straight line this as much as you can. Gonna kind of drift left to get ready and open up this right-hander. Car getting a little bit loose, and if we go off track, the lap is voided. So we want to make sure we use as much of the track as physically possible, but not too much that we throw away our entire lap. Had to do a bit more of a lift there than I would have wanted. We're currently, as you'll see, they're running at the very bottom of the leaderboard, but this lap, I'm hoping, should change that. Maybe put us in the top 5, or at least that vicinity. Corners here. Before we get onto the back straightaway, and once you're on the back straightaway, not much you can do. You just kind of hope your run off the previous corner was good, and you let the car sail all the way down to the final little chicane. A little bit better there carrying speed. You want to go foot to the floor here, but can be scary because you got this outside gravel. And I'll tell you, in real life, very good thing we have gravel traps. They're just meant to kind of slow the car down, provide a bit more friction. Basically just give you something bumpier than this very smooth asphalt to slow the car down before it hits the barriers. But any racing driver will tell you it is their scariest, worst nightmare when you're coming through some corners and you have the threat of accidentally driving into kitty litter. Because, oh my goodness, we've absolutely blown the corner and our lap is going to be voided. So, curious, I'm just going to cross the line here, probably going to lose about 2 seconds. Let's see about where we would have gone. Actually, beat our previous time, and it won't count for the lap, despite it showing up on my side. It won't count the lap, unfortunately, as we did go off track there in that final corner, but it would have been actually 2 seconds up on our previous lap, which would have put us somewhere in the ballpark of second or third. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Don't think I'm an absolute schmuck here. As we get this going, we're going to hope the race pace is a little bit better. Hope we don't need to fling it into the final turn. Great question there. Where's the Wall of Champions? The Wall of Champions is in Montreal. It is on Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which is Canada's premier FIA circuit. Their FIA has 3 grades of track. I'm not going to go into it, but essentially the larger your facility, the fancier the facility, the nicer the track quality, the higher your grade is, and the more series can race there. Canada is home to one of the world's, I think, 30 Grade 1 circuits that F1 can run at, and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve's last corner is the famous little high curb chicane called the Wall of Champions, and it's called the Wall of Champions because no matter how famous you are, many famous drivers have crashed into the outside wall there. It is one of the trickiest corners, probably up there with Eau Rouge in my opinion. I'm going to grab a quick drink. I think you guys are all good to go there. Hopefully everything is looking good on your side of things. Car sound is good. No rain in the virtual forecast, at least not that I was seeing pre-race. So we
put in plenty of fuel to finish the race.
Unfortunately, I apologize. We're going to have driver chat off for other drivers. It is sometimes fun to hear what they say, and trust me, certain lobbies, you hear some absolute doozies of quotes and messagery, usually of the expletive variety. But we've turned it off today because we don't need that negativity here on the debut Full Sun Racing Network stream. So let's get into it. We're starting P14 here. It looks like a number of drivers didn't qualify. Many drivers on iRacing tend not to as a preference. So we're going to be in a decent spot. Should have an opportunity here to move up through the field a little bit. Going to try to talk throughout. Going to do quick checks on some of the longer straightaways here at the chat. So be sure to get involved. Let's get kind of a dialogue going. What I'm going to ask you guys now as the countdown finishes up for the start of the race. All of you at home, start kind of thinking of ideas for what we can do for paint scheme designs. If you have an area on the car you want to put a specific image, a specific color, at the end of the stream we're going to be designing a car for next week's race together. We're going to design a NASCAR, plenty of flat spaces. Should be fun. Start putting ideas in the chat for some things you'd want to see in a virtual race car. And right now we're going to get into our race and see if we can make up some spots. Pretty clean start here. Guys up front are all going to kind of fan out. It's a hard braking zone, so we're just going to get out of the way. Let this chaos we're seeing happen up front
on the left. 3 wide.
Move out ahead of us.
Clear on the right. 2 wide.
They're on the left. There. And that is 12th place, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving up already. It's funny to see my old 78. You're going to notice my number is 78 there on the side, which is not going to match my car number in sim, but is going to match the shirt I'm wearing as we go crazy wide to avoid some lunatics driving off the racetrack.
Slow down. You don't give that time back against that corner. Keep it to the right.
As you see, idiot up there in the chat, it's a kind of a precursor or a bit of an illusion of what the chat would sound like if you had audio on. But my 78 shirt is what I run for a league called Bandit, the Bandit Racing League, that those of you who are watching this channel are adamantly familiar with. It used to be broadcast on this very YouTube channel. But I have a fun little shirt I made for it, just with my my current number. But the 78 comes from that. It's from my Bandit background. So if you see on the left-hand side, that'll say 78. I'm actually on car number 2 in this particular session. Starting off pretty good here, though. Not a bad little first lap. If we look at our little relative in the bottom right, you guys can see where I am. Unfortunately, I cannot in the live in the live race session. I don't have my fancy overlays set up because my computer can handle quite a bit. I don't know if it can handle quite that much. Great call there from Michael on the first car idea, doing like a crocodile theme as a kind of nickname I've tried to get started for myself for a while, which makes it perhaps ineffective as a proper nickname. But I love the idea of going like a crocodile scale car. I've workshopped it in the past. It does take a little bit of nuance, so maybe something that we kind of start tonight, or we pitch as an idea tonight, and we add some nuance to in the future weeks. The guy on the radio. You're referring to the in-game spotter. I unfortunately cannot, in the moment. We'll have to turn that off between races. There's just no way, unfortunately, to, once you're in the session, kind of edit the volume there. But that's my in-race virtual spotter. Oh my goodness, we absolutely lock up here again. The reference point that I was prepared for based on other cars is clearly a little bit too late compared to what I need, as you saw me blow it in qualifying. Almost did it again there. You're up to the top 10, ladies and gentlemen. First lap down of 13, which I know doesn't feel like many laps, but Spa, a very long circuit. The qualifying pole lap you saw there was about 2 minutes 12, and that means it's going to be about a 2 minute 15 here in the race. Just to kind of explain a little bit big picture how I try to handle these races. Obviously, like I said, not a race I've practiced at all coming into today, so right now just trying to get a feel for the car, trying to get a reminder of the track and certain braking points like I just mentioned. But really what you're trying to do in these sprint races is push the car as hard as you can. There's two factors of driving in terms of tires that are important when you're saving. This mostly goes for oval and road course at the same time, but for the purposes of road course racing, you're worrying about your tire preservation and your tire temperature. So to just kind of give a quick explanation for those of you watching at home what each means, tire preservation is about the state of the tread of your tires. So those of you that know, tires are made of rubber, they're made of multiple layers of rubber, and typically the texture of that rubber and the design of the outside of the tire informs what kind of tire it is and thus how much grip they give you. So there's a softer, a medium, and a hard compound of tire in Formula 1. Some series run what's called a primary versus an alternate, which is just code for hard versus soft. Basically, all these different tire compounds are going to give you different grip, but some are going to have more tread on them than others, meaning you can wear them out, and as rubber comes off and goes down into the road, which it does, you're losing tire the longer you race, is as you put that grip down, it starts to come off the tires as you're turning. So the more you push your tires, the less speed they give you further on in the race. So, especially in ovals, some of you may think, you think naturally, like we did in qualifying, you're just trying to go as fast as you can. In one lap, you're trying to put up the best time possible. The reality is that in racing, what you're really trying to do is, if it's a race, you know, over a very short sprint, you're trying to think, all right, it's not a sprint that I'm doing lap after lap. Each lap is not in a bubble. The whole race is one collective kind of long marathon. So how can I save my tires and make my average lap over the course of this longer race the best it can be? As we come here through this final chicane, we're starting to make up a little bit on this car in front. And those of you that'll see on the timing tower, there's kind of a big gaggle of cars there from third place down to about more or less where we are here in 10th position. The leader is taking off, which I know you guys can't see it, but based on his rating and the I-rating system coming into the race, that is not a surprise at all. So he's pulling away up front. He's doing a great job. But we are going to try to kind of tuck in, stay in this draft, and get some speed down the straightaway here. As you see, the two guys going too wide. I think there's almost three, but there's it's not an easy corner to go too wide in, as anybody who's watched any length of Formula 1 will tell you. It is even harder to go three wide. So very glad they did not feel the need to try that. But we talked just now about tire preservation and some of the facets of that. So the idea is to kind of take your corners a little bit wider, not throw the car in as hard, brake a little bit lighter, don't kind of stab on the brakes, and make it a little bit more gradual and a soft step rather than a hard foot to the floor. But there's also tire temperatures, which is a little bit more pertinent for this race and any shorter race. You tend to call it a sprint in racing when it's something of a shorter length that you don't usually go through a whole tank of fuel. Doesn't require you to go into the pits, which, for example, this race today will not. At least I hope it won't, but I don't think they mess with the fuel. No, we got fuel to the end. So tire temperature is the same and different. The way to quell tire temperatures getting too high is actually very similar to tire preservation, but what you're trying to do is just not have the car be sliding too much. It's a very simple way to put it. The more you skid the tires, the more you go like laterally back and forth, like what you just saw me do with the wheel there, where I'm kind of flicking left and right to kind of find my angle through the corner. The more you're scrubbing, the more you're turning the wheel, the more your tires are heating up with friction with the road. Those of you, for example, that have watched racing for a number of years you notice before the race, the guys do like a weave back and forth, back and forth. They'll either like just flick the nose or they'll physically kind of zigzag and drive around. What that's doing is it's just meant to get the tires having as much lateral friction with the road as they can to try to add as much core temperature in to make the tires warm. Because obviously if you've ever like rubbed your hands together, you know, put them on your face in the winter, that's a great way to warm them up. The same principle goes for tires. As we come here through the final couple of turns, just to make sure I don't mess that corner up. I think we've kind of figured out our plan for it. So we're doing all right here. The leader, credit to him, his name's Hulk, and boy howdy is that fitting. He is Hulk smashing the field right now. And we're not catching him today, but we're car number 2. We're the second best rating in the room. I know these guys probably have a little bit of practice from the pre-race, but I'm feeling confident we got plenty of race time here. We can hopefully make our way up to at least the podium. That would make me feel a little better coming away from this with at least a 3rd place. Going through this section here, the slipstream, just to, I'm not going to go into every individual facet of racing here for the entire race. Feel free to ask if there's anything we can kind of talk about. But the slipstream is essentially just drag. As air pushes past the race car, it's essentially the air creating kind of a wall, trying to slow the car down when you're on a straightaway going at your top speed. And the more you can get behind another car, he basically takes the force of the air out in front of you and displaces it and makes it such that your car is able to more easily push through, allowing you to achieve higher top speed. It's just kind of drag minimization. People in racing tend to call it the slipstream, but the idea is just the more you can sit behind a car, the less you need to push, and the more that the natural displacement of air will let the car go faster instead. So, for example, for oval racing at big tracks like, big tracks like Daytona and Talladega, which you may have seen in the hit film Talladega Nights, or if you've ever seen the images of like 40 NASCARs going 3 wide all the way around this giant 2.5-mile track. That's what they're doing, is essentially they're trying to use the slipstream and the air displacement to minimize how hard you have to push and how much the engine has to do. There is the leader, ladies and gentlemen. We've suddenly been put in a position that perhaps Hulk is not untouchable. And we can be like some Marvel character that has beaten the Hulk in either comics or Marvel movie lore. Gonna get right in behind this guy, and because he spun, like I just said, I talked about the idea of like the harder you turn, the more lateral friction goes, and the hotter your tires get. The best way to make your tires really hot is to spin out like this fine gentleman just did. So we're going to be a little bit careful, as I'm just going to start using this white line as my braking point. 2 guys in front of us go side by side, so we're going to go in, pick which guy we think is going to win. It's not this gentleman, because he just bloated right up in the middle of the corner. So we're going to do a quick slide around the outside. Going to go side by side here into the next corner. And if you look at our mirror behind us, the gentleman behind us might even take a run at us as well.
Taking the lead. You're gaining on the car in front.
Really tight as the car gets a little bit loose, but so does the guy up front.
They're on the left.
So we actually are going to have a slipstream partner here down the straightaway, which would have been bad if we didn't. But as you see right behind you, the guy behind is very, very close. So we may need to pull a little bit of defensive maneuvering. Sometimes in racing, it's better to let the guy by if he has a slipstream on you and you need kind of a draft partner, because then I can slipstream on him next lap. These guys, however, are exceptionally slow, as we saw in that last chicane last lap. So we are not going to bother letting these guys by. We're instead going to try to run our own race and see what we can do. As 2 gentlemen up front have a little bit of an incident, including our friend Hulk that just went off a moment ago. So I hate to say it, but you know, I'm a big pattern guy. I like to notice patterns that exist, and if you're involved in 2 wrecks in 2 laps and you're the, you know, primary force in both of them, maybe, oh boy. Boy, howdy, I look like a hypocrite now because I got a little bit too much curve there when we went off the track. Still plenty of time. We can probably make that little bit of time back, but right as I say that, boy, howdy, this guy is having some issues. We're going to try to go all the way around the outside of him as he gives us room. Nice and fair there. We're going to go side by side into here, which I'm not loving, but we'll see. Gives me plenty of room on the outside. Going to keep going side by side. Gives me just enough.
Hold your line.
Squeak by on the outside.
They're on the left.
And
on your left.
That is back up to, I believe, 9th or 10th.
They're on the left.
All right, so we talked about just a moment. Let's get you guys involved, because I feel I've exhausted as I try to catch up to this pack. My Spa and Formula 3, my basics kind of explanations for certain racing facets. Let's talk a little bit about more of this paint scheme idea for next week. And we had a suggestion there from Michael, kind of playing with the crocodile theme, do sort of a crocodile scale pattern. But anybody else, do you guys have any ideas for some fun things? Anything we could do in honor of you specifically? So maybe throw an idea for a visual kind of element for a race car, and then where you'd want to see it on the car. We talked about earlier, my family and I, with the idea of putting our family dog on the back of the car.
On your right.
To stare at our opposing
Clear on the rock.
in next week's race. Next week, we're going to be running, I think, the same series we're going to be running against today. Maybe with the special guest of my spotter, who we will not name, but those of you that are familiar with my racing career, you are well aware of who I'm talking about. Next week, we may do kind of a focus on spotting and hopefully more successful pole usage. But we got a chat there from somebody. Crocs on the Crocodile car. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. There's got to be a way to get it on the wheel well to make it kind of as close to feet, I guess, as you can get in the racing equivalent. Those of you out in the chat there, I'd love to. I wish I could throw a poll up right now. I'd love to do a public consensus on Crocs, yay or nay. I'm infamously, those of you that know me know, I'm very anti-Croc. Although I'm really just in general anti-slip-on footwear of any sort. I've come around on flip-flops because they are on paper very comfy. Like, there's no real reason I should hate them. I just hate them because I'm such a running shoe guy, and like the stability of a running shoe isn't there with them. But like sandals, man, like those of you that are out there liking sandals, where you got like the little bit in between your toes, like what is that? Does anybody like those? This is a genuine question, because now they have like the ones you wear as a kid where it's like the slip on the strap in front. Far comfier, but like the in-between toe sandals as a kid, I thought were actual torture, and I can't believe real people pay real money to use toe sack Crocs. Very signature Michael idea here, a Cincinnati Reds element to the car. I'll leave that to you, Michael. What would you want to see on it? Like, are you talking just the logo? Are you talking one of their various menagerie of high-end MLB talent, such as Ellie De La Cruz, or Jake Fraley, who I can't remember, may have signed somewhere else in the offseason, or Gavin Lux? I know he's one of my guys. So, do you want an actual player, Michael, or do you just want like a logo thing? I was gonna say the mascot, but I, for the life of me, do not know what the Reds mascot looks like. Is he the guy that's just a baseball? There's a mascot that is just a walking anthropomorphic baseball, and I think it might be the Reds. So maybe we'll put him on there. Team Liquid theme, which I correct me if I'm wrong, Brett. Is a CS team, I believe. Who I think I have a Team Liquid player. For those of you that don't know, we're in a fantasy league, a couple of us, for Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike 2 specifically, a game that I'm horrible at. But there's like a fantasy league for it, which as of this morning, I will say I am winning, despite knowing nothing about Counter-Strike. But is Liquid one of the good teams, or are they kind of a meme team? Like, the Reds are a meme team. Sorry, Michael. They're kind of a meme. Just like my Sharks are in the NHL. But is Liquid like the team that young... Is he Russian kid? Or some young phenom? Which it feels like there is in every video game. You know, there's... let me think of a good example. Well, me in iRacing, essentially. You know, young phenom, has his stuff together, never just haphazardly runs off track in a very easy left-hander and loses 3 positions. Couldn't happen, wouldn't be me. Why would I know? I'm just getting in the zone here. I can't help but feel my competitors have, since the little incident I have, kind of found some pace. So we'll see over the last couple laps here as I've kind of gotten in the rhythm, kind of figured the track out. We got about half the race left. I think there's a good chance we can maybe push to get back in the kind of top 5 conversation. I know it's 7 laps to go doesn't seem like much, but in reality that's about 13, 14 minutes, which is plenty of time in a sprint race. Spencer Steer's face on the front. Does Spencer Steer have any notable, like, facial components? Like, is he an interesting looking dude, or is he just kind of what I'm picturing as the default
the car in P5, just
younger
hit the
white
fastest
dude?
lap.
I don't remember. We've looked at photos, but I have to be honest, I have not examined them in any meaningful
That was your
detail.
fastest lap of the session.
I just saw the Spencer Steer's number on the car. What is Spencer's? off the top of my head, Michael, I'm going to try to guess by the end of this straightaway what Spencer Steer's number is. Because there was a time I knew. Spencer Steer. He's not 18. It's 20-something. Final guess, because I have to throw a guess out. I'm going to say 25, but I don't think that's right. I really should know. I think you own a Spencer Steer jersey, don't you, Michael? I feel like I would have seen it at some point. He's got a sexy face, I bet. I bet. Oh, here's a fun game we'll play for the audience. Those of you that are familiar with racing, either like, you know, full racing fans, have a passive interest in the world of motorsports, let me know who is in your opinion the best looking racing driver out there right now. You know, could be a big celebrity, could be, you know, somebody you're watching stream, could just be somebody that you happen to know casually. Just let me know who's the most attractive racing driver. Could be past or present. The one that I will always think about in honor of my stepmom's favorite driver, Mark Webber, or another contemporary great option, David Coulthard, the man with both the strongest jawline and the largest head known to man. Because he kind of comes from that cloth of goats of motor racing, like Latifi and Stroll, beautiful. In honor of a very trying time for Canadian nationalism, we throw out our best and brightest, our two top Canadian talents, both of whom, fun facts, have, I think, passively been involved on iRacing in the past. And as opposed to their contemporary Max Verstappen, who is arguably actually the best iRacer in the world in addition to Formula Racing, both pretty bad on iRacing. I think they both had a brief stint, and I don't believe either of them did very well.
Just the fastest lap. 11.634,
for the leader.
13.221.
So
that was your fastest
we're not there
lap
on
of the
pace
session.
for this. It's going to be better, I think, in the oval race, where kind of some of my fundamental oval understandings will translate a little bit better. I will admit I did actually watch a guide for Nashville that we're going to do later, because I do know the track. And there's actually some guys that I know a little bit better in that series. It's a league I've run before. So coming up the straightaway. Oh, beautiful! Thank you, Bill. Man, I was trying to lead to the correct answer. He got the both the most talented and handsome driver in the world there. Carlos Sainz now is my stepmom's new pick, which I think is a good call. He has that kind of jaded maturity, I think, where his personality blends in well to his looks. You know, some people just have that kind of charisma that accentuates their features, whereas some guys don't at all act or, you know, portray themselves the way that they look. But Carlos Sainz is the guy that I think is very in touch with that, and is the... I was actually very impressed that Alyssa didn't say it, but the Charles Leclercs of the world, I know they are the conventional option because of conventional positive features, but Carlos Sainz is just the complete package in terms of the aura that he gives off, for lack of a better word. So great shout there. I saw Liam Lawson there as well in the chat. He's kind of the new flavor in the young F1 drivers, up and coming future GQ model world, but he is very publicly despised by a lot of people. So you gotta wonder, is that gonna play into his public good-looking F1 driver image? Because sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I feel like we as a society, we love the bad guy, you know? Nobody ever complains about you know, who's the guy who plays a villain in a lot of movies? I'm trying to think of a good example. I mean, there was that era of movies. Was it Sean Bean was the he just became a villain in every movie. Like, you know, Lord of the Rings, he was kind of back and forth. There's a famous action movie from the late 90s as well, but guys that just you associate with a villainous form. And I feel like F1 history and just racing history in general is full of guys that are villains, but I won't judge. Some people are into that. Some people like the bad boy, and racing is full of them. I feel like we've really just reached a stalemate with this car in front. My belief that I was going to catch him any corner now has been going for about 4 or 5 laps. He appears to just kind of have a bit of a rhythm he's settled into. We're getting close. We're getting there. Got 4 more laps here, give or take about 7.5 minutes. Come through the corner. A little bit of a mistake from him there. A little bit of a mistake from me too. Track's going to be getting a little bit warmer. You see the sun kind of peeking out there as we came through that last corner, so potentially going to see the track get a little more slippery. As we come down straight away here, just going to take a look. Time-wise, we're looking pretty all right. We actually should have a little bit of practice time in the next segment, but I think we're going to hop into Photoshop was my plan here and start working on some paint scheme ideas here in the interim. I will throw it to you guys, as we talked about a little earlier, this stream did not end up going on the stream link that was posted around, like the one that was scheduled on YouTube, in the process of resetting all the software, which, as you can see, did end up working, but it did mean the stream actually ended on the original code, is now streaming on a different one, a different link. So if anybody can send it around to relevant parties or whoever, if you know anybody I send the original link to, feel free to throw it around, and we're hoping for some slightly more impactful content here in the second half of the stream. But today's week 1 of 3, we're going to be doing this today. We'll see about next Saturday. Next Saturday is St. Patrick's Day, but I'll make a posting about it everywhere. You guys will know. And then the final week of the little triple header, we're doing the Saturday, March 22nd. I'm going to be doing a charity-hosted race, so a little bit of stakes. There's actually some prizes to be given away. The racing will be a little bit more competitive, and I'll make a point of, even though school will be busy, of practicing a little bit through the week, just so we're in a competitive place come that race. This race we're not. I do think we'll be decently quick for the race later, because you guys didn't come here to see a guy running mid to back of the pack the entire event. So the question there, what is it? Favorite racing drama story? That is a deeply interesting question. Racing drama story. Oh boy. I like to think of myself as a man who is not partial to the drama of racing. I think the dirt sheet side of thing is interesting. I think it's my thing in sports is it's more interesting to see how drama and like off the field stuff we know about, how it kind of informs our analysis of real sports. So like knowing guys going through a scandal like back. It's kind of a crude example, but Michael Jordan, back when there was stuff going through, but it was like his gambling and his drinking, there was all this stuff in the public, and the public eye, he was very under scrutiny. How, he then went on arguably one of the best runs of form of his career, and it only makes it more, more impressive to know what people are kind of overcoming in their personal life. Whereas with Formula One, I've never noticed that much of a correlation. So personally, as somebody who's like in love with the sport and love with the day-to-day, I don't really keep up with the dirt sheet storylines. I actually, to be very honest, my favorite drama, only because I kind of lose interest in drama once we know the story, because then for me it just becomes history. But the whole current thing about the FIA, particularly the whole Verstappen versus Russell drama, as a Verstappen fan, those of you that don't entirely know, there's just a big thing because George Russell, driver from Mercedes, is the head of kind of the drivers, not the drivers union, it has a name, but the collective of drivers. As we
right
jump
side
inside here, gonna make a quick little pass. Finally got this guy from Nick, and
you're losing
a
on
little
the
bit of
car
time, but we'll see if we can push to catch the guy in
5.6 seconds to go.
But essentially, there's a disagreement between Verstappen
car
and
in
Russell,
P3,
because Verstappen is seen as, we talked about bad boys a moment ago, he's not really a bad boy in the conventional sense, where I'd imagine he doesn't think he's one. But he is kind of in hot water about some stuff with swearing, some stuff about his regular conduct, and Russell is meant to be seen as kind of the face of the drivers, kind of the representative of the FIA for the drivers in Formula One. They've gotten in a variety of little spats and disputes over the last year. I think that drama is interesting because I think the idea that a sanctioning body that is universally despised, the fact that there is a driver people associate with it, which is probably why George Russell gets so much hate, I find stuff like that interesting. Drama on racing's not big for me. Scapegoats and anything, the idea of like a martyr people put up as a representative of something they hate, I find that's interesting. And as a guy who likes Russell and Verstappen, it's like if there was somebody out there that liked Kendrick Lamar and Drake equally going into last summer, You just get to take like an outside stance and a big picture view on the entire situation and judge it kind of objectively. There we go. It's just the one section I've been having trouble with. Senna vs. Prost is another great show there in terms of like racing history. I had actually had a conversation about this with somebody, a big racing fan, about a week and a half ago. I don't think there were two greater drivers in terms of where they were in their career in terms of peak form than Senna versus Prost back when they had a battle. And I think that tension, I think operating at a high level in all of sports, I think just, always pushes drivers and their personalities to their limits. But I think that's what we love about sports. It's the same reason that, like, all these iconic sporting moments so often happen in the finals or late in playoffs of sports, because it's when tensions are at their highest. It's when, things are, the stakes are highest because of the prize and the light at the end of the rainbow. And I think Senna and Prost kind of had that vision for themselves back in the day.
You're losing on the car.
I won't delve too deeply into the history of the two drivers, but let's just say two of the best drivers. Probably
1-5. White flag. One more lap
7
to go.
or 8 best
the
drivers,
P2,
depending on your value of Formula 1 versus other series, maybe 7 or 8 best in history. Race for the same team at the same time, which never really seen again in racing.
On the right.
We've had good partnerships like Alonso and Hamilton back in the day. Everybody in terms of like most iconic championship battles will probably think of Verstappen versus Hamilton in 2021, but I think that was just a peak era where, two guys, there's no excuse when you're in the same car as somebody. Everybody else in all of sports can blame their equipment, can blame their team, can blame their teammates. But in racing, if you're in the same car as somebody, I guess now the equivalent is you argue about, who's it tailored to, who's it set up for.
You're gaining on the car in front. The gap is 3.3 seconds.
Coming through the final couple of corners, see the guy up here, there was a guy for 8th that made a mistake. He was actually in 5th at the start of the lap as I completely blow the corner. So now we're just going to be racing to hold on to 10th. But this gentleman up in front of us had a bit of a spin-off there. And man, I just think if we could have capitalized a little bit better at that early stage, if I hadn't made those early couple of mistakes, we would have been in the draft and had a better shot. But now we're just going to try to bring it home, the debut race of this little behind-the-wheel mini-series. Going to try to take down our friend Sebastian Vicente of unknown Latin origin. Throw the car down a gear, use as much of the racetrack as we can. Just going to kind of keep it safe and bring it home. There is one really good passing opportunity left at the end of this this lap here in the last couple corners. This next right-hander, how we exit it, making sure I get back on the power quick, is going to inform our run. And if we get a good enough run, should be able to hold him off. Pretty good run. He gets a little bit of dirt there in the background. So going to be side by side. Going to be a fun little finish here. See what we can do. Going to kind of straight line this as much as we can. All right. Guarantee he's going to try to send it up the inside here into this final like sharp hairpin. So we're just going to put it on the right. My philosophy with making being on defense is if a guy makes a move around me, makes an impressive pass, then nothing we can really regret on our end. He's going to try it, just going to dive straight to the inside, give him no room to work with. He tries the over-under and actually gets a little bit into the back of us, but we make it home, we make it home safe. This guy's going to pull right over because I'd imagine he is pretty frustrated about his race.
There's the flag, it's over.
Debut race, not super happy with 9th, but again, coming in with no practice, he can do quite a whole lot worse. Going to pull it up here and fix some stream stuff here for just a moment. Going to kind of watch back. We'll throw in a replay here of the earlier stage on the start. The start was a little chaotic for the entire field. Let's throw up this replay here for you. Alrighty. We can just look back at a couple of our little moves here. I think for this, we are looking at about 45 minutes till the start of kind of our main event for the night. That's the actual race. I think qualifying is just a little bit earlier than that. So in that time, I'm going to start getting Photoshop set up in the back here. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Maybe first, we'll head into this race. Fun little time. You guys got kind of a background into sort of the road course sensibilities. Didn't go great tonight, but we're going to have some fun road course races in the next couple weeks. Hopefully, maybe get a radical. I've done a lot of real life radical, or not real life, real life soon, but a lot of sim radical work that is going to turn soon into a real opportunity, which is really cool. So maybe we'll do a radical event sometime in the next couple weeks, or maybe a couple different times. I'm just going to take the poll out, as the poll is done and unfortunately did not work for this particular stream. I'm going to move you guys. They're going to move the chat here right to the middle, so you can see yourselves there. I'm just going to actually put the logo up here as well for just a moment. And we're going to take kind of a look back through some of my paint schemes through the years. Force feedback is an interesting point. Maybe we'll focus a little bit on that during the oval race, because it's something that I may even be dialing in during the actual event. But force feedback, as we find the logo, there we are. We're putting this together here on the spot. All the stuff that I built, that I spent a while making pre-race, just none of it is wanting to work today. So, gonna work with what we can. Again, for those of you that are gonna come back and that hopefully will come back for future broadcasts, the 2 Saturday and the week after. We are going to have things hopefully a little bit more refined, and we will have it dialed in. We'll do some more fun segments. I want to get kind of the interaction with the actual on-screen stuff working a little bit better today. We haven't been particularly blessed in that capacity. So what we're actually going to do with this is I am just going to very quickly, live on the spot, live television, the wonder of live production. We're just going to quickly hop in here. We're going to make the screen a little bit bigger. Not this big. I apologize for taking up too much of the screen here. We're going to go right here, right here, right here, and right here. Alrighty. So we're going to take a look here at some of my paint schemes from the past. We're going to get a little bit of inspiration. We'll talk about our paint scheme concept right now. I'll show you guys the car we're going to be painting. It's actually the same one we're going to be using tonight. And then we'll kind of collaboratively get through here. I'm just going to double check when exactly this race we are entering in tonight is starting. I think the actual practice session is open. We're going to hop in that a little bit early, just so we're not absolutely useless out there like we were in the early stages of that race just now. But let's look at some kind of paint schemes through the years. So let me know if you guys have any interesting elements of it, anything you like, anything you dislike. If any more ideas come to us, let's just kind of work through it. Then we'll get live into Photoshop and see if we can put something together. You're going to see a lot of little cars on screen. Not all of them are mine. I'm just going to focus on stuff I've personally made in the past. There's some really cool schemes that people have made as either replicants of real life imagery, or they do their own kind of personal designs, personal sponsors, whatever. We're going to start with the car I've lovingly called Creamsicle Car. This is one of my favorites. Got a pretty big win in my my virtual career in this bad boy. You'll see here kind of the design. You get some little streaks here that are from a package I downloaded that was meant to kind of replicate ice, like the design of kind of a frosty ice car. And in turn, the orange just came together. The full send orange that we use for the branding always looks really good on anything with a kind of lighter tone, and it particularly looks like a creamsicle. So, big fan of this car. Pretty simple in terms of sponsorship. You'll see typically the Rogue Energy sponsor. This is entirely, it's not a paid sponsorship. It is just because they sent me a cup one time, and the gesture meant so much that I still put them on stuff to this day. Full send logo here on the back. It's the number 25, just a number that I needed to run for an esports series back in the day. But my dad will remember this is the car we got a big Indy win in a number of years back, so one I'm particularly partial to. Big fan of that one. We're going to move on here. You'll see a couple various just generic full send schemes. We won't focus on too many of them because I've made one for almost everything. Not all of them are very good. This is one of my favorites. This is a car and kind of a trademark that I really enjoy. Those of you that have ever heard me talk about racing and kind of if I had a real race car, if I had a dream opportunity, kind of the plaid paint scheme is something that I've always kind of tried to, try to get going, try to have as kind of a signature element to my designs. And what more important time than ever than like a signature Canadian, motif in these trying globalist times. So big fan of the plaid, and you'll see here on this design, kind of tried to work it into two basic tones. There's kind of two schools of thought when it comes to paint scheme design. You can either have your sponsorships kind of blend right into the car as a kind of a silhouette effect versus the actual full brand. From what I've heard, from what I understand, sponsors don't tend to like that approach. You think about what's an iconic brand. Something like let's say Apple, for example, right? The Apple, the signature white Apple logo. My phone's here somewhere. If we do kind of an analysis, I'm gonna dox myself with what phone I use. It's not even on because I have a phone case. But you understand, the iconic white and black of the Apple logo, just kind of simple shades. You think about, obviously very recognizable if you just saw the logo on the street. If you slap the logo in this red that we're using here for the Rogue Energy scheme, it wouldn't immediately associate with Apple because you're so used to it having its signature colors. But for this car, or let's say we had a logo that was like blue, and you're throwing it on this red paint scheme, the blue would kind of clash. You know, there's a color theory element to it, which those of you, I know a couple of you in the audience are arts majors, so you guys will have heard about and talked about color theory a number of times. But the idea is that clashing colors, if you can make them blend into the scheme, it's great. Or what you can do is you can establish the precedent of a multicolor scheme. So with lots of different hues, different textures, so that the diversity of the actual sponsors blends in more to the paint that you're looking at. So in this case, for the Rogue Energy scheme, I went for a very simple two-tone red and black. Anything I could control when I made this in terms of avoiding, there's the Ferrari badge here you'll see on the side, there's the big 18 for the driver number, stuff on the side, none of that I can affect, that's just default stuff. But everything else, I used what's like the silhouette function of design, where I made a set two colors, which is the kind of maroonish red you'll see, and the black, and everything needed to adhere to that. And it's cool, it gives the car kind of a distinct visual design. The idea that if you look at the car from this angle, directly from the back with that little bit of red sticking out, directly from the front, you don't need to see the whole car or a sponsorship on it. You immediately recognize what it is. It's kind of the mentality, is kind of the background I was going for with it. So you'll see a lot of the Rogue Energy schemes that are in that dark red. There's, for example, I ran a Mustang in the very same series for a while that Ferrari just kind of got bored of after a while. Similar effects, just very simple. Anything that could be red and black is. But I like the idea of... Yeah, great call there on the Red Bull. Like the Cash App, Visa, Red Bull. First of all, their brand is just loaded with sponsors. Their whole thing for years has been that RB, for those of you that don't know, formerly Toro Rosso, formerly Alpha Tauri, which is a clothing brand that I don't think exists anymore. But they're like a feeder series to the very famous Red Bull F1 team. And the idea is they are a junior team, but they've always kind of wanted their own identity. And I guess the identity they've gone with in the last couple of years is slap as many corporate sponsors onto their name as they can. In fact, we're going to pull it up here. We're going to take a brief Full Send Racing Network behind the wheel field trip, and we're going to show it. I could even do a segment where we look through some of my favorite schemes throughout the years, because boy howdy do I have some absolute doozies. And it's the fact that I'm looking up this this car, and I'm trying to remember all their sponsors, and I can't. Here it is. So this one I actually, we'll put it up on screen here. I actually don't think this is terrible. This is it's an image from a press release. So here is the car in question that we're talking about when we talk about the Visa Cash App. You see the design here on the side. You got the Cash App logo, which, again, we talked about the silhouette. If they were trying to adhere to kind of the rules of the design, of like the big picture, the colors on the side, if you look at it, you see the white, you see the blue, you see a little bit of red. But the green of the Cash App is like the first thing to me that catches my eye when I see it. It's a little better because they have it in multiple spots. You see they got it on the front wing, and they got it kind of just below the iconic bull there on the side design. This isn't too bad, but it's these cars that just... The really bad one, we're going to pull it up here, is the recently announced Williams F1 car, which those of you that kind of tangentially keep up with F1, you may have seen they did a live event for it this year, the first time they've done like a full event to announce their new paint schemes. I want to get the proper side shot of this monstrosity because, look, I'm just going to pull this up here. Oh boy, got an article we have to pay for. All right, we're going to zoom in on it then. The number of sponsors they have packed in this car is absolute insanity. Like, look at the side profile. There's no, like, rhyme or reason. There's no desire to put similar-looking sponsors on the side together. When I first saw it, I called it the paragraph car because they've just put a lot of lateral text that, like, doesn't really line up. You know what I mean? Like, if you kind of did a 2 and 2, you put 2 together, 2 together, 2 together, maybe, you know, work with text size, like maybe similar fonts together. But like the Golf logo in the back, Golf's an iconic sponsor in racing for those of you that don't know. They have a great light blue color you can't really see here, and then the Golf orange you see. Great colors. It just looks so out of place here. It kind of matches this yellow and this little logo on the side skirt of the underfloor, but just too much text. Too much text. If you commit to too much text as a bit, I think it's fine. Maybe we can do that. Maybe we can just, you know, chuck an entire paragraph, have a some sort of quote, maybe put like the entire speech from Abraham Lincoln's inauguration on the back of the car. But stuff like that annoys me to no end. So too much text, if it doesn't blend, sponsors can kind of detriment and take away from a car design. This one, I know we're just sticking to a lot of reds and oranges. It's typically what I work with. This is not the accurate paint scheme. We're just going to refresh this. Actually, no, it is. This is from when I was doing a test livery. Gosh darn it. All right, we're not going to look at that car because I'd have to go pull up the other one. We showed you the Porsche a little bit earlier. I just saw the thing in the chat. M&M car, I know we were talking about it, you and I earlier. This is the version of, I did not design this for the record, but this is the Dallara version of the M&M car you've seen. And this is like an iconic element of the brand. And what I love about the M&M's branding is it is a brand with a product that comes in a variety of different iconic styles. So if you work with something like, say, FedEx for a number of years when they sponsored Denny Hamlin, in fact, we'll even pull that up again too. Certain sponsors have so many different products that you can be representing your products and still present a variety of different colors, a variety of different iconic kind of looks under the same banner. And M&M's is like that. They have so many colors. They typically tended to do, they no longer sponsor NASCAR, which is where they're most famous and what that scheme was based on. But they presented, like, they had a Halloween car one time where the cars were in like fun little costumes. They're like ghosts. This one we'll take a look at here. So for example, the FedEx of Denny Hamlin, very simple. Unfortunately, they left the sport a little bit ago. Not a crazy complicated livery. I'll pull up the photo here. Like, this is nothing insane. This is pretty standard run-of-the-mill livery. Some cool colors. You got a little bit of a gradient on the side. But for me, what I love is that there's this. There is the FedEx Guard. So like they have a variety of different, very similar brands. But each of them, for some reason this is on Instagram, but you see like the green font, like it's just a different version because they have a different brand with a different word mark. They had this one, FedEx Office, was the blue one. There is a great example. So like various different cars under the same banner. So you immediately see them, again, the iconic 11, but also that kind of general, the way the paint is laid out, the kind of design on the scheme, but the color can change week to week and you still know who it is. So that's always a tenet of racing I really like the idea of. Unfortunately for us, for the purposes of our design today, we're only doing one paint, and we're doing 1 week of a series. So let's kind of get some ideas. We'll pull up. Maybe what we'll do is I'm going to throw some designs. We'll start clipping some stuff off the internet for some images. So let me know. We'll kind of go through here. We're going to look through some images, and I will clip some stuff off. And anything we clip, give me an idea for where to put it, and we'll kind of mash it into a car for next week's stream. We mentioned the Cincinnati Reds. We mentioned Spencer Steer's face. So we're going to start with that. We're going to go find a great photo of our guy. For those of you that don't know, this is Spencer Steer. I never heard back. I guess 20, I think I said 25 was his number. We'll see here. Going to go into his number 7. I was not even close. He looks like a number 7. I got to say, some guys just have that look to him. Michael, if you're still here, let me know. Let's find a, if the horns weren't a little bit cropped out, I would say this is a no-doubter. If it has a background on it, I will gladly crop it out. We'll do some transparency stuff. This is a contender, so maybe we'll put this on the short list. I didn't realize... When did Spencer Steer play for the Twins? Was in the Twins part. This is the Twins logo there, for those of you that don't know. Iconic red. I like this a lot. I don't know about you guys. I like that this is in focus. I know the background of the shot is in focus, and it'd be hard to do in a car. But the idea of a player that is kind of more in focus than what he's behind. We're going to throw this in a Viking one. All right. So if we like the Viking one, we'll do that. We'll support your vision. We'll scroll back up here in a moment. All right. So we'll put the Viking one in the short list. We'll put it in the downloads, and we'll add that later. What else? We're just going to look back up through Rogue Energy mention, Crocodile. All right. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to... I will put my dog on the car for next week. We had a Luna mention. Luna is my dog's name, for those of you that don't know. We will use an exact picture of her. So we'll add that to the list for now. For the time being, Golden Retriever. Well, which one looks like her? This one kind of looks... This is just her with more jowls. So picture something like this on the car for next week. Again, if you have any ideas for locations or like a way to place pictures, maybe that would be a fun element. Crocs. That's going to be an interesting one. Trying to think of where I put them. I don't even know what color this car is going to be, so we'll maybe just do a safe side profile. We'll grab a pink and a white, maybe do pink in the front, white in the back, but I'm thinking maybe inverted, so instead of being underneath the wheel well, kind of over top of it. Might be kind of a fun little twist here, so we'll grab a couple of these. I heard Team Liquid theme. Team Liquid, but again, I never got confirmation. I believe is a Counter-Strike team. Counter-Strike 2. Buffalo Bills. This is now we're speaking my language. Now we're talking stuff that is a must. That's a sick logo. All right, I'm a big fan of putting this horse somewhere. We may crop the word mark out. Like some of the stuff is going to be, I don't want to use people's like actual teams or smaller corporations brand stuff if I don't need to. Let's look up Josh Allen jumping. For those of you that are not football aware, I have a little bobblehead. I wish I'd. Oh, he might. No, he's not on this shelf that I'm using. Josh Allen, he's well known for jumping over things. You'll see if I look up Josh Allen hurdling, there's this is the most iconic one over the Chiefs, our biggest rivals. Here he's hurdling a sign, which I love that they've put Hurdle Avenue on the banner there. This is the iconic shot, which we may use. I like the idea. Throw some ideas in the chat. I'll crop him out. What can he be hurdling over? This is going to be our new element. Josh will be jumping something on the car. Maybe it is my dog. Maybe we do on the, I don't know, front hood or something. But Josh Allen jumping something is going to be a great theme. IKEA would go hard. IKEA logo is iconic. I'm really disappointed. I know they're Swedish, and it doesn't surprise me they haven't sponsored NASCAR. I think they did sponsor at one point Lola in Formula One. Like I think they do. They have had some element in racing, but now that I think about it, not enough at all. So IKEA logo. I may make a portion of the car this blue, like the blue from the background, and not even bother cropping it entirely, but this is a good idea. We'll add this to our list. I like the idea of just a shelf too, like this couch, for example. We'll just put an appliance somewhere. Just give ourselves stuff to work with. Some of these file types, by the way, that Google is deciding to download these as. Just for those of you tuning in, by the way, I'm going to put out one more call before we get into the actual race. There's going to be another race tonight. The actual green flag goes at 9:45. We're going to be hopping in that session in just a moment. For those of you that are just tuning in, we're just going through and kind of putting together a paint scheme for next week's stream. Each of these 2 weeks, we're going to brainstorm an idea for the scheme after. I think once you guys see the vision for next week's, you'll kind of get a better idea of the level of goofy we're looking to go with these. And then the week after, maybe we'll have an even better option. But in terms of other ideas, I'm very happy with where we're at for right now. I'm trying to think of something current. Maybe like what's one more topical reference? What are the youth doing these days? What are the kids into? I'm trying to think what's happening. Oscars just happened. Crazy Frog. Speaking of current, iconic Swedish electronic legend Crazy Frog. There's going to be some very good photos of Crazy Frog here. You gotta think. I mean, just the iconic stare of death. What's a good one to be jumping over? Because he's got a good height, but the way Josh is in that iconic photo, his legs are kind of tapered out like a V. So it'd be funny if we had something that uses the width that will be on the. So this is what AI came up with, I guess. It says premium AI generated Crazy Frog. I know there's a lot of, again, speaking of current discourse, I know there's some controversy around AI use and AI generated artwork. How are we feeling about this AI generated Crazy Frog here? I'm not loving that, so maybe we'll get some. Again, once we get our polls working next week, a poll of 1 to 5 rate AI Crazy Frog would be. All right, you can stumble down this rabbit hole for ages. We're gonna put this guy on the card now. I've fallen in love with him now that I've seen him. But let's use maybe Crazy Frog throwing out the peace sign. We'll put him in. All right, I'm loving it. Any more ideas? Let me know. Those of you wondering, I'm now going to present our steed for today's race. The first of our actual full send schemes will run. Again, didn't unfortunately have one for that first race. Did put a little something together for this. AI-generated paint scheme is actually a really interesting idea. Maybe we'll do that for whatever our first race is next week. Maybe on the spot, we'll just have the AI make a paint scheme we'll slap it right on the car and get into a race. This is the Chariot for tonight's race. This league I happen to have the number 18 in. I don't tend to run the 18 for oval stuff. I tend to be pull the shirt up here. I'm a 78 man. That's what I tend to run in any oval-based series. But we're doing 18 for today. We got our FSRN logo here. We got the word mark on the back. We got our full logo here on the front. The kind of 18 look over the top. It's not as dark as it looks here in this setting. iRacing does this annoying thing when it puts aftermarket paint schemes like from separate apps on, where whatever the last iRacing scheme you put in the sim is, the trading paint scheme stamps over it. So you'll see like there's a little like, you can see it's kind of transparent over another scheme. It's not going to look this dark on the track, but this is what the car we're going to be adjusting for next week. So picture the vision, you know, could have, the numbers got to go here. It's got to be shifted up front the way the car's designed, but like Alan here, Crazy Frog here, could just put the dog on the back, you know, dog on the back of the car. IKEA, I kind of, now that I think about it, I want to do an IKEA billboard, like have that like big iconic road sign, maybe put that in the back corner. It's going to be great. It's going to come together, but be sure to let me know ideas for colors. Colors is the only thing we really have left to decide here. So, all right, we're going to hop in here, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to hop in our session. We're going to try not to leak too many drivers' names as we're going to head in right to the session. Quiet little turnout. Not too many guys here yet. I know a lot of guys in this series tend to show up later. But let's hop in. Seeing just from the track info, it's going to be a warm track, which is going to be in stark contrast to what we just had there for Spa. A little bit more interesting with the ovals. Those of you that are familiar with oval racing at all will know a warm track really plays an effect on not just how you need to, you know, brake and turn, but with ovals, the bigger question is your line. Like, you entirely change the way you approach the corners. If you're on the bottom of the racetrack, for example, in the heat, sometimes in the cold, you're going to drive up to the top because there's more grip. We'll walk through once we're in qualifying. We're going to actually run some more practice laps here. But thank you for working through there with me on the that fun little segment, finding some stuff there for next week's paint. Again, really do like the idea of kind of getting more interactive with actually getting these segments to work. Which, again, apologies today, ladies and gents, for the fact that some of those elements, for example, the poll, did not work as anticipated. But next week we're here for improvement. Next week we'll have some fun new changes. Also, the lighting, we're just going to move this light here a little bit. Again, I desperately wish those other lights had worked as advertised, but we'll just get more batteries. I'll probably just do one and rotate the batteries. But you don't care. You care about getting in this race session. We got 13 people in here right now. If I had to guess based on this series turnout, they're probably going to find 5 or 6 more before race time. There we go. You like some of these races on iRacing, the official races, meaning just races that any people off the street, you're just, you know, paired in against randoms, kind of what you'd call competitive in other games. Some of these natural lobbies now are gridding with like 40 cars and some of these short ovals. So in terms of car count, that's more fun, but you're at the whim there of people getting into you, and it's a lot more aggressive in those sessions. So I like to try to avoid oval officials as much as I can. Hopping in here, though, we got a fixed setup race similar to the last. I talked about the idea of open versus fixed. I ran a fixed setup in that first race. Some people had custom setups that were probably tuned more for straightaways, whereas the Spa one is a little bit more forgiving on turns in exchange for less straightaway speed. Might have been part of our problem, but I'm not going to blame that for why we only finished 9th. But this one is totally fixed. It's totally universal. Here we go. We're going to put this up. You're going to see my screen. You're going to see the cockpit a little bit more. That first car I know was open cockpit, was very easily visible. This one less so. And to counteract for that, as we adjust our force feedback, which like I said we'll talk about in a moment, I'm going to see if I can change my field of view. Maybe get a little closer, so you guys get more of a view for the car. Well, let's get it going. We're going to try a couple laps here in practice. We're just going to warm up. Gonna have to remember there's no speed limiter in these cars. NASCARs do not come with them. For those of you, a speed limiter is basically just your car recognizes how fast it's going and automatically speeds you up or mostly slows you down to avoid a maximum speed on pit lane. NASCARs unfortunately do not have this. So not that it's something that you need necessarily, just something I'm used to from my background in racing. So welcome to Nashville Superspeedway, ladies and gentlemen. Virtual Nashville here in lovely Tennessee. Come here, start getting the tires warmed up. Just going to do a little bit of practice here just to find the lane, see what other guys are running. And then we're going to kind of work on our race line. I don't tend to be super interested in qualifying, as qualifying in NASCAR in general, or all oval forms of racing, doesn't tend to be a big priority.
Car up high.
We completely missed the corner, so my frame of reference is not where it should be. This guy, oh boy. All right, guy behind us went to let him by. He had a bit of an issue. Typically, there's kind of two schools of thought when it comes to running NASCAR and ovals. This is going to be a gross oversimplification, so don't take everything I say here as universal gospel. But essentially, the philosophy is that you either want to run right to the bottom side, run right on that yellow line we're going to see here on the inside. We're going to try to dive for it here and really blow the car out. You either want to go right for this bottom line, or you want to go all the way around the top a little bit closer to the wall. There are middle lanes. There is a combination of the two. It's kind of a sliding scale. But the philosophy is essentially, as probably seems obvious, the bottom of the track is the shortest way around the track. Some tracks that are longer, for example, Daytona, the wider your track is and the longer your track is, the much shorter the distance is on the bottom lane versus the top lane. So it's shortest way around the racetrack, you're covering the least distance, but the trade-off is typically that you're saving up less speed. The idea being the more gradual a turn, so for example, you're on the wall, the turn is kind of, you know, a more gradual wide arc of a left-hander. Versus the inside, I'm really having to kind of get the car to rotate here. The way to do that is not always necessarily through the wheel, and if you notice kind of the little hand movements, it's not really being shifted that hard left. It's just kind of a gradual movement. Again, we talked about tire preservation earlier. Huge thing here in NASCAR. The idea is you want your hands moving as little as possible. Let the brakes, let the gas do the rotation, and the rest will go from there. But in terms of the line we're going to be running today, I think the bottom is going to be a little bit more ideal, at least from the guides I've watched. The track, as I mentioned there when we came in, is very warm. And what a warm track means is that, well, you're going to have less grip, and thus the more you can get the car to naturally turn on the track without you needing to add wheel input, the better. And the way to do that is going to be to go right to the bottom. A little bit of issue with rotation. I think there might be a kind of a half lane higher entry that might be a little bit more ideal.
Car inside.
I also cooked the tires a little bit there, just the way we started out. I wasn't really aiming to conserve too much. The race today is going to be 75 laps. Shouldn't be too long. Half a minute laps apiece. I don't think this series is going to be too caution-filled. I've watched a couple of their races in the past. They don't tend to have too many troubles in that regard. So, hoping it stays pretty much green. We get some actual good racing here for you. Got the apex a little bit better that time. The car's getting a little bit loose. First time I've ever done an oval race with this new wheel, actually. It's a Formula style of wheel. It's not even a full circle like a NASCAR wheel traditionally is. So not exactly meant for this form of racing, but there's certainly no excuse. Just means kind of getting back up to speed with stuff like that, kind of clipping the wall. Finding your exact angle to hold the wheel at. It's natural once you've had a wheel for a while. Once you're getting used to new tech, though, it could be a little bit tough. So we are just going to pull out of this guy's way. I've really cooked the tires here these first couple laps trying to get up to term. So we're going to do a reset here. Appreciate the interest in hitting the like button here. The biggest thing you can do is the more you guys can kind of stay involved, we can keep the chat going, keep the conversation going. Again, at the end of the day, this is for a class, but I do really enjoy the idea of doing it, and just the idea of kind of chatting along, kind of getting you guys to see the behind the scenes of the racing world. And again, hoping some of our interactive stuff like the polls and such will work a little bit better. And next week's stream, I'm sure they will with a week under my belt to kind of figure them out. But the best thing you guys can do is just keep the chat going, keep us talking, and I assure you, once we kind of get in the rhythm here, once we figure the track out, I will have no shortage of time to answer and respond to messages here. We come around to you, like I said, 9:45. We should go about, give or take about 50 minutes. So we are going to be wrapping up. If I had to guess, sometime around 10:30. We'll give you guys plenty of time for the rest of your night. What's so different about this versus what I've done in the past with, for those of you that don't know, I come from an actual broadcasting background in this channel. If you go through any of the other links, you'll see the variety of streams I've done at different leagues over the years, including some that I've hosted myself. But what's so different about the streaming side is it's not really a descriptive medium. With the broadcast, you guys used to see, like, you know, you get the entire race of switching between cameras. I was describing what you guys saw on screen. Well, here with this, doesn't necessarily need to be dialed into that, and this is more of kind of a listenable form of content. which has been something kind of fun to adjust to. So I'm going to try here, going to do kind of a quick lift. Typically, again, in terms of saving tires, best thing you can do is limit braking as much as you can. Let the car kind of slow itself up, kind of roll it in. Do a quick tap of brake, typically just to get some rotation, and then kind of go from there.
30.688. That was
starting to find a little bit of pace here. Still not anywhere near where I want to be, but just not getting too aggressive with my angles, like I said. Just getting the wheel. Oh my goodness, car getting real loose, but the most fun part about racing is kind of wheeling the race car when the car tries to get away from you. So I'd rather have to overdrive it than have it like this and just not stick it all into the corner, and you're just trying to desperately get the car to turn. What is your favorite underdog racer from the hit film Cars 2? There is an absolute slam dunk of a question. Here's the thing. Those of you could be the biggest Cars 2 fanatic in the world as far as the contents of the movie. You may not know that similar to a variety of other hit Disney animated properties, that Cars has a lot of celebrity voiceovers, a lot of real-life celebrity drivers. Obviously, the king from the first movie is Richard Petty, probably the most famous and decorated NASCAR driver of all time. I say all this, though, to say my favorite driver would probably have to be the aptly named Jeff Gorvette, which, for those of you that don't know, Jeff Gordon growing up was my dad's favorite driver and was certainly one of mine in the NASCAR circles. And I will always love the fact that when they came to designing a character, designing an animated character around a famous celebrity named Jeff Gordon, they decided to make him a Corvette, which is fitting because he was always a driver for Chevrolet, but they named him Jeff Gorvette. I simply do not understand. Like, not a second thought, not a moment went in when people said when they thought, all right, what if we gave him kind of his own individual character name, or did more of an actual pun on Gordon. I guess it is sort of a weird pun. He's my favorite for that reason, but he's not in the movie much. Other guy I like is the Raleigh car. I forget for the life of me his name. I think he's French in the movie. If you happen to remember, Nick, let me know. I don't remember his name, but I liked it because in those shots, because to make the plot interesting, every car in the world circuit, no matter what track they're on, runs about the same pace. And I loved the implication that a little car that I think is based on I think he's meant to be a Citroen, which is primarily a European car brand. But they're really big in the Raleigh circles. And Raleigh cars have a fair bit of horsepower to them, but the reason they're so quick is because they're so light. And in that movie, he's keeping up with, like, Francesco Bernoulli, who's a Formula 1 car, Lightning McQueen, who's a NASCAR, which shouldn't keep up with the Formula 1 car, but, like, straight lines maybe I'll give you. He's just a Raleigh car. Like, he's just a Citroen you drive. Think of, like, a Volkswagen. Think of, like, a low-level Volkswagen. Like, the speed is just, it's hilarious that he keeps up with it. So for that reason, a slow car with a big role in that movie, punching high above his weight class. For that reason, he's an honorary mention. But Jeff Gorvette will always have my heart. It's a great question. Yeah, Raul Kaul or something. That sounds. I think it's Raul for sure. I don't remember the last name, but it's probably like Carzulli or something. Every car in that movie had to have a car pun attached to it. Am I crazy? Actually, speaking of the whole Cars thing, is there a new Cars movie coming out soon? Because I keep seeing stuff for it of like they're gonna bring back kind of the franchise, but it's not Lightning McQueen based. Like there's what's her name? Not ladies and gentlemen, so you don't follow somebody in sim if you don't know you don't know they don't know what they're doing, because I was just gonna trust that guy wherever he went, and he promptly put it right in the wall. But yeah, is there talk of Cars 4? Is that a thing that is genuinely happening? Because I don't know if we need one. I already don't think we really need a 3, to be honest. I don't really like that. What was fun about 2 is it's so early in Lightning McQueen's career that as a kid you can kind of like extrapolate out and be like, oh, maybe Lightning went on to have this crazy career and all these piston cups. And that's like what was nice about the first movie is that he doesn't win the cup, and that's the whole moral of the movie. But then like the assumption that he then goes on to win more. But then they just tell you that he's won like set amount in the third one, and they kind of like put the end of his career. And I guess it was the natural narrative, but disappointed. I don't know if we need another one. Would you rather race in NASCAR or Indy? See, this is an interesting question, because the natural answer for me is, in terms of the racing, is IndyCar, no doubt. What I really like is the idea of, like, with iRacing, you get such a variety between, you can do road course, you can do oval, you can do street circuits, or you can do purpose-built circuits like Spa that we did earlier. IndyCar runs all of those, and they're not always great tracks. They run a track, speaking of Nashville, they have a Streets of Nashville track that I kid you not is like if you built a bunch of concrete walls and told people to drive around a parking lot. It is so small, there's no passing, but it has so much character, and IndyCar really has a lot of variety. It champions not like diversity in backgrounds, but also just like the background tracks they run. I feel like it would never get boring as an IndyCar driver. They add a lot of new circuits. But the problem with IndyCar is, and this has been, anybody who knows me in person, I've probably lectured you on this at some point, IndyCar is the worst administrated series, I think, in the entire world relative to kind of its market share. Because they can never get out of their own way for advertising. They've only recently had a new TV deal. They don't market their drivers at all. And they're now racing at like it's called Thermal Club, but it's basically like it's like a country club. It's like a rich people country club that is basically just an airport. It's just a flat, big, wide open airport that they now run races at. And like for that reason, I just worry, realistically, if this is a realistic answer, by the time I'm older, will IndyCar still be there? Like, do you want to tie yourself to a series that's going downhill? And NASCAR, they peaked in 2004 in terms of viewership. NASCAR, for a period of time, crazy to think now, was bigger than Formula One. They had better ratings. For sure, it wasn't even close in the States, but I think for worldwide for periods of time throughout the middle of the 2000s, right before Jimmy Johnson took over and dominated, they were at their peak. And, like, to think NASCAR's nowhere near there, but they have such a core audience, I think, in the States that I think NASCAR has great, like, history and great, you know, kind of internal culture to it. Not that IndyCar doesn't, but I think winning something like the Daytona 500 still has a lot of value. That obviously the Indy 500 IndyCar does too. But thinking about the whole IndyCar season, you know, it depends how you balance prestige, how you balance money. You're probably, I assume you're getting paid more on average in NASCAR, but it would never be the background of why I would choose anything in racing. I say all that to say probably IndyCar is how I would answer that question. Again, just the variety. I come from kind of open wheel sensibilities is the way I think about racing. So I would probably lean that way, again, because you get to run ovals, you get to run road courses, you get to run streets. Streets of Toronto, of course, one of our few local tracks on the racing circuit.
3, 2, 1.
So, final answer, we're going to say IndyCar, but it's a great question. Oh boy, just getting warmed up here. 2 more minutes left in practice, and then we're going right into qualifying. Don't get confused. There is another junior. There's somebody whose name is actually, the last name is actually Junior in this series, who I'm well aware of. So Junior's not me. I'm the number 95 car. However, I'm unfortunately the 18 in Sim. I have unfortunately made a mistake, and I wish I had just run a 95 scheme. But we're getting back out there. We'll go here and run one quick qualifying attempt to just, you know, see what kind of maximum pace we can draw out of the car. I think that from what I can see, the track tip has actually gotten hotter, which will kind of decrease grip, meaning maybe not totally realistic to run I think it's a 30.3 that guy on the top of the board has.
They're outside.
The 30.3, the lap at the top of the board, not entirely attainable if the track has changed too much, but we'll go out there and give it the good college try, see what we can do. Maybe draft behind this guy who is a decent ways up the leaderboard, is currently in 4th. See if he has any pace and try to get a handle on qualifying here.
1, 2, 1.
Hi, Sally. Hello. How's it going? So interesting thing about this stream, I thought emojis were going to be banned. Use the, like, waving there. So there's like a security moderator chat box. Obviously, I don't have the capability to moderate and race at the same time. But there's like a function that naturally, as part of it, the default is set to it bans emoji icons, which I guess makes some sense, like as a potential for like a tool to troll people. But I don't know. I'm kind of surprised that's just a default that they try to disable is emojis. So weird thing. You know, obviously you saw earlier the reason that the original stream didn't go up as planned. We had to repost was for Streamlabs related reasons. I don't totally understand the streaming tokens and how to actually use them yet, or why sometimes you just have to restart your entire system to make them work. But again, baby steps. We'll figure that out for next week. But for those of you just joining in, we're just finishing up this pre-race practice for our second race of the day, doing this little league race here in the NASCAR at Nashville Superspeedway. Kind of a pretty cookie-cutter, cut-and-dry, simple track.
Practice is over.
What's that? You got yelled at by it. Oh, talking about the what's it called? The emoji detector, really? I think it is called Chatbot. It's like a, kind of security thing. That's interesting. I was very curious if it was actually going to play any sort of role. Within reason, I was doing kind of tests when I was like setting up the stream to see what I could say and see, if it flagged it. Nothing terrible, of course, but just, in terms of like spamming letters. Oh my goodness. I'm a professional here, ladies and gentlemen, watching on stream. I did not at all just wipe out. Still adjusting to the trying to race and talk at the same time dynamic. Clearly it's capping my skills somewhat. But yeah, capital letters. The chatbots here on YouTube don't seem to like, so no just spamming capital letters. Apparently that is the worst thing you can do. I personally feel it represents a sense of urgency, but apparently the
green
chatbot
flag,
feels different.
green flag. Here comes your first timed lap.
Oh, too long. I see. Yeah, it could just be something with displaying messages there on that chat ticker on the bottom. Very well could be the case. You only have like a certain limit of space on screen you can use, as the car absolutely does not turn here on entries. So I'm gonna back it up, give it one more time. All right, wide arc here. Gonna really set it up. Try not to get in the marbles too much. We'll take a proper run at the corner here.
One more lap. 31.466.
Oh my goodness. I think this will not turn. Alright, we got some work to do, I guess, with the turn in at the start of the runs. There are things in car we can change, and I'll mention that now. But as we come across the line, I think this will be our last lap. Run it off the exit, and we just plow the wall. So this lap was doomed from the start. Again, we're going to start towards the back like we did in that first race, but with ovals, as you'll come to find, that is far from the end of the world. We had a question about force feedback earlier. I was going to come back to it.
There's a flag. It's over.
Fun. We're going to do a fun thing. We're going to take the wheel, and I hope it's not going to flip out. Sometimes it flips out. Didn't flip out. All right. Here's the wheel, ladies and gentlemen. What's fun about this new wheel? You can entirely remove it from the platform here. So, force feedback, essentially what force feedback is, for those of you that don't know, is replicating the feel. I'm just actually going to, we'll re-show the lap just so you got something in the background here. But what force feedback is it's an attempt by virtual racing to mimic the jive and the response you get through the wheel as a racing driver. So, for example, if you're driving on the car in your road car on the road, you go over a patch of ice. You feel it in both in your body and in the wheel. Less so in the wheel in a road car, but you know that feeling of like the car gets light underneath you. You feel like each little movement accentuates how much the car drives around. That's kind of the same effect with I'm actually going to put the leaderboard back up. That's kind of the same effect with race cars, and what you want is that response can kind of inform you. If you turn into a corner, the car starts feeling light. That means you're lacking grip, which means you want to change the way you want to get a little more gradual with your turning, get off the gas a little bit, stuff like that. We're also just going to change the name of the race here. But that is essentially the premise of why feedback is necessary, because that way it's basically giving you information, not through words or through warnings, but telling you based on context clues about how the car is responding, how you can affect your corners. Maybe it'll tell you how you're saving tires, little things like that. So force feedback, what it does is it tries to replicate that, usually through rumble. So a rumble, lack of rumble, severity of a rumble. Basically, it's the wheel vibrating in your hands like a real car wheel would. As we snap this guy back on, make sure he locks in. It's not currently locking in. Boy, wouldn't that be funny if the wheel would... Oh, it's because it's upside down. There we go. Essentially, what it is designed to do is that rumble is meant to provide you those clues and is meant to give you that information. I've moved my settings around. I've adjusted, for those that are iRacing savvy, I have it at 17.8 now is my setting I run my force feedback at. This wheel is very strong. It has its own internal motor, so the actual unit here, my wheel, my new one, those of you that have seen it, it's a lot smaller than the old one, the actual like base of the wheel. I would show the camera. I don't know if I want to leak my legs on stream, especially not something I'm submitting for a class. But essentially, it's like a small little cube. So instead of a full unit, it's its own little internal motor, and the motor spools up really, really fast and then creates a vibration, the same way that a motor naturally would. So it's doing its own rumble and is creating that sense of feedback. For those of you that don't know what force feedback is, I personally think it's a little bit more helpful with the road course side of things. When the car tends to get loose on you in oval, you hear it. You hear the squeal of the wheels before you feel it in the wheel, at least to me, in the steering wheel. So it's a little bit more helpful when I'm doing road course stuff. I tend to have it higher. I do switch the setting around a little bit. All right, we'll get into this. As we kind of get started, it's just going to be a little warm-up lap here. If my session wants to come back. Hello? There we go. We're just going to adjust our pit stop because we will have to pit at least once.
You'll have to stop for more fuel before the race is over.
As our fine gentleman here has told us.
The estimated SOF is 1,800.
I do actually need him for road courses. He's not super important for road courses. He's a little bit important for road courses.
We expect to be fighting for the podium.
He's really loud though, so we're going to turn him down. I just realized what you guys were talking about there. His volume is exceedingly loud, so we're going to turn him down. Let me know. I think, Alyssa, you mentioned earlier it was a little bit too loud. Let me know if that's...
cars left to grid.
No, that's still loud. My goodness. You know what? We are going to hop out. Worst case scenario, we start from the pits. Probably not the end of the world. Oh, we got a minute left to grid. All right, we are going to turn him down a bunch. Because he is noisy. All right. He's down. Chat's off. Don't need it. Alrighty. Sorry about that, ladies and gents. And then should be good. The sim actually gives you... He's helpful. He tells you your spotter... Well, again, we'll get into it more next week if we do that kind of me and my spotter back and forth segment. But the premise is essentially that he tells you left or right. He tells you where cars are. Tells you fuel info. All right. That's not the end of the world. It's pretty good volume.
You have 3.
There we go. You can also see it gives me a chat message on the bottom, so not the end of the world if I don't have him verbally. We'll take one more swig here of Monster Energy Orange. I will point out, again, here's my Marshall full send tip of the day. Don't pour energy drinks into containers that are not the native packaging, because they look terrifying in terms of color. Like, you'd be surprised. Think of your favorite drink, like... When I was a kid, what color I thought Red Bull was till I had one. It is not at all. But those of you at home, think of your favorite drink. Maybe check what it looks like, because I kid you not, there are chunks in this Monster Energy Zero, and it's kind of just carbonation, but it has a weird tendency to just condense like a foam, like a foamy layer on top of the glass. So, pro tip, just just check. Maybe just put it in a glass. One time or more. Yeah, Sally agrees. I'm curious, Sally. Again, just to clarify, we're driving in the stream. I'm going to kind of walk through this race, but we're going back and forth. We have chat kind of activated the entire time. So let's have a conversation about this. What is your energy drink beverage of choice? We established earlier I'm a Monster Zero white flavor guy at the end of the day, but I'm particularly just partial to any energy drink that does not have like a dangerous warning on the packaging. For some people, maybe it increases the danger for them, but we were talking about the Monster Energy Zero cans. Funny we say this with the Monster Car cars. But the Monster Energy Zero cans that just have a generic warning, but don't tell you what they're warning you about. So my thesis earlier was just avoid cans with mysterious labels you don't understand. Tires are a little bit cold here at the start of the race, so we're just going to kind of settle in. Guy got a little bit high there, check the whole feel up, so we might get a free spot here and there. Celsius Orange or Kiwi? Does it say Kiwi Guava? Here's a question. I know guava's a fruit, but like, what does guava taste like? Because in my head it tastes like grapefruit, but I have no actual evidence, because I've never had it, to suggest that is true. Oh my goodness. These two fine gentlemen have decided to just murder each other in the middle of the race. And we get through it. To finish first you must finish, ladies and gentlemen. And sometimes the best way to do that is just hold on the brakes, let the chaos around you go by, and then we're up to 10. I can't put it on camera. I wish I could, but gosh darn it, that is not a good texture on that beverage. Why is it the most neon color known to mankind? Yeah, exactly. There's just, I don't know what they do. Like, it's not a natural food coloring that just kind of dyes the texture of something. Energy drinks just have a glow to them in general. It doesn't make sense. The new spring flavor, yeah, you were mentioning that, Alyssa. I think that's a great call. Gatorade Glacier Free, yes! I know, not an energy drink, but in terms of Gatorade, you have absolutely crushed it, Benjamin. That is the correct answer in the hydration beverage circles. Do you ever have a moment? Speaking of Gatorade, you see the betting odds for the Super Bowl, because you know they do the betting for what flavor they're going to dump on the coach after the game. Do you ever kind of put yourself in the player's shoes and imagine, like, maybe this is weird, but like if I was from Philadelphia, what flavor would I drink? You know, I don't even know what flavor each color is, but I put myself in the position of the player, and every year I make a bet on it, and I've never been right, but one of these years. But you know, like some places just kind of have a taste to them.
The road is closed.
Weird to put it like that, but you might get what I'm trying to say here. That's what I try to do at the Super Bowl. Guava tastes like poisonous nothing. Well, that's kind of why I was curious, because you said kiwi guava, which I think I've tried. I think I have been given it before. I'm not natively a Celsius man, but it's, you know, even I can't avoid the inevitable passage of time, and I know that's like the hot new beverage now, so I have tried it. But like, guava implies it's kind of a subtle taste to go under kiwi. Gatorade used my gum. Really? Huh. Wait, like, I assume strong flavor. Was it like flavors that then became the drink, or was it like drink flavors? Basically, what I'm asking, was it gum and a beverage, or was it just gum? I've never heard this anecdote, so I'm curious. Be cool to bring that back. I've been needing a new gum flavor. I've always been particularly partial to XL. I don't know about you guys. Maybe there's a new fun topic. Throw your favorite gum flavor in the chat, or favorite, like, you know, flavor or, you know, company. Because as a kid, it was 5 Gum. That was the thing, right? It was like 5 Gum. They had the funny commercials. Everybody, because it was cool, right? They had that cool logo. As a kid, you're like, I'm edgy in 4th grade because I'm eating 5 Gum. What's the gum of choice? I think Red Bull tastes like Pop Rocks, and I will die on that hill.
Line up on the inside.
It does a little bit. It does taste like it has some zizz to it. It's not a bad show. Glacier Freeze is a slushy. Is that like, Bill, and so in terms of, when I think slushy, our generation does, like, you kind of do your own custom slushies, like you basically put alcoholic beverages in. So like you do your own ice, crushed ice, and then you like make it together your own at-home slushy? Or like, do they make them in a slushy form? Because if they have actual Gatorade Glacier Freeze slushies somewhere, I will come to whatever American town that is and just pour it in bulk in one of those big oil canisters and bring it home, because I cannot get enough. To help quench thirst. Interesting. Wasn't that the... Well, there's, I think, fruit gushers. What's quenchers isn't a thing. I think I'm thinking juicy fruit. Wasn't that kind of their business model too? That like kind of soaked gum. Soaked is the wrong word, but you know what I'm trying to say. XL in the black pack. It's strong mint. It's like the thunder mint or something. There's the dark blue, which I think is like winter freeze, which is not bad. The idea of a season tasting like something. I guess I did just say that Philadelphia tastes like something, so, you know, in terms of crazy thoughts, that's not too bad. We're back to green though. We're gonna tuck in on the bottom here. I'm really still trying to get this track figured out. Like I said, I watched a YouTube guide that with the hot track temperature does not still seem to be accurate, so we're gonna kind of throw that knowledge away, see if we can find somebody that knows what they're doing and just tuck in behind them and replicate their approach. Oh my goodness, this guy's gonna move up a lane on entry, which means he's gonna slide way up the racetrack. Guy gets underneath me, trying to check up for him. Oh my goodness. Holy cow, these two cars. Sick Kodak paint scheme on that guy, by the way. I don't see Kodak racing enough anymore. They used to sponsor Formula 1 back in the day. So we're gonna see. Oh, he's 18 as well. There's 2 number 18 cars because I accidentally ran a skip the wrong number as we almost very narrowly avoid death for the second time in I think 10 laps. He's just chucking it there right to the bottom. Ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what I was talking about tire preservation earlier. You don't want to throw the car and make the tires do too much of the work. You want to kind of smoother steering input to make them nice wide gradual turns. So we're going to try to run a little bit higher, a little bit more subtly, maybe drift to the bottom, and there's another position. This car's a little loose, tire's going to get hot. That gentleman in front just absolutely wiped out. Don't come on the racetrack, don't come on the racetrack. Might get a caution here because he just came right back on. There's the yellow. So finally, more beverage discussion. This thing has become a beverage discussion live stream with unfortunate racing in the middle. Oh, interesting, Benjamin. You've suffered the wrath of our chat security guard that just comes as part of. We were talking about it a minute ago. Comes as part of the stream package that he disciplines drivers at home. I don't know, drivers. He disputes chatters at home for doing basic things like writing long messages or using capitals. So. There's no actual problem with it. Feel free to type as long as you want, but he's very frustrated.
Pasta 18. Job. Pasta 18.
I just saw I see the bottom of your note there, Benjamin. Just looking at it. This is all great because I like I said, I watched a quick YouTube tutorial coming into tonight. I just knew I wanted to run the series, but I know little to nothing about. As we're gonna come down to pit road just to get some new tires, top up on fuel. I don't think what's their tire limit? All right, we're gonna turn tires on. Yeah, I know little to nothing about Nashville. So if you have a good marker for turn-in, I think I get the sense of kind of the angle. Maybe you can just tell me quite simply, do you tend to run bottom, top, or middle? Given it's like a hot track, I think it's 76-degree track time. Those of you that don't know, Benjamin Lacey, veteran of the series formerly broadcast on this channel, is one of the I think great racing intellects I know in terms of race approach. So Benjamin, whatever you say, I will highly value. You said the ally sign. I'm gonna guess you're talking 1 and 3 because I know there's one on the back stretch up here. We're just gonna talk to the back. We're gonna take fuel. Didn't take tires. I'm saving them. Probably shouldn't, but just instinctively kind of want to save our pit stop time later. Bottom always early entry. Perfect. It's one of those things I've had a hard time adjusting to tire saving with running the inside, like the inside bottom of the racetrack right on the yellow line. Because just to me, it doesn't feel natural. Like in my head, I want to gradually kind of arc the corner out to save tire. But some of these tracks like this one, and I know, what's the other one with the really strong bottom groove? I can't remember. But it's just something that natively I never think to do. So if that's the way to go, we'll start backing our entries up a little bit and dive it in a little bit harder.
One lap till we go green. Line up on the outside.
Thanks for joining us, by the way, Benjamin. Big picture. We were talking about earlier my kind of weekly segment for this is we're going to design a collective paint scheme. People are going to give me ideas for things to put on next week's car. I'm going to make a paint scheme design for next week's NASCAR race we run in. We have a number of great ideas, including we had IKEA, Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills jumping over somebody. We have Crazy Frog. We have my Golden Retriever. Blanking on other ideas. We had so many great ideas. Essentially, if you have an idea for some sort of image that would represent you on behalf of the chat, let me know what it is and let me know what part of the car we'll put it on, and we'll add it to the docket for Frankencar next week. Put a hedgehog on it, says Sally. This could get me into a whole tangent about Sonic the Hedgehog, because I saw a Sonic the Hedgehog card today at a car expo, and I've been thinking a lot about him. But when you say hedgehog, I assume you literally mean the animal, the hedgehog, not the famous cartoon character Sonic. Gerald from Finding Dory. Is he the seal? He's the seal, right? The seal there on the rocks.
Green flag, green flag.
Finding Dory's an underrated movie. Ellen is a terrible person as has come to light. It's, you know, one of those things you can kind of tell. Finding Dory is still the masterpiece of her. So Gerald, just confirm he's the seal, and then we'll add him to the list. And if you have a good place to put him, I feel like it's going to be competitive what we put on the back of the car, looking at other people. I run the Ford Mustang, which I know has a pretty open front grille, as we just run high because there's car maintenance. There's enough room on the front grille. I wonder if I could put him right on the nose of the car. Beautiful face. Happy. My goodness. That's a property I haven't thought about in a while.
5, 3, 2, say hi. The lead is
I still, to this day, I did it as a kid. I really hope we get to the bottom here sometime soon. I, as a kid, all the time, mixed up Happy Feet with Surf's Up. Are those more or less the same concept? What, I haven't watched Happy Feet in literally a decade. What was the central conflict of Happy Feet again? Not that I remember Surf's Up, but I just don't remember what the plot of that movie was. Somebody can remind me vaguely. I know the chat bot will yell at you, so keep it, maybe do like a 5-word summary of what happens in Happy Feet. Or what the Happy Feet are. I know it's the Happy Feet of the Penguins, but... Love to see Marshall on Twitch. I genuinely, if it weren't for the fact I already had the existing YouTube infrastructure and OBS, Brett, I absolutely would be on Twitch right now. Today obviously didn't quite go early on the way I was hoping in terms of technical stuff. We're going to work through it this week, and I really just need the stream under my belt to tinker with stuff and see how it works. But kind of enjoying it. If there's enough interest, if I can get a series full-time to run to stream again, I would be absolutely glad to jump over to Twitch and do that instead. Just running YouTube today because it's where the old series infrastructure is. Right to the bottom as per the suggestion. 520 car, gonna get a little bit of room here. Gonna get a little bit of slipstream from the gentleman on the inside. Oh boy, my bad. A little bit of us coming into each other, but I think could have given a little more space. Actually, a guy that one of the founders of the series here, a guy I've known for a long time, so not a guy I particularly want to hit too many times. Not that I want to hit anybody. Humble, voiced by Elijah Wood, is banished by the elders who think his dancing is responsible for the shortage of fish. So, interesting. Every animated movie of the 2000s, I think, had some sort of parallel, was the idea to, like, some real-world issue. It was either, like, teaching kids a lesson or was a parallel of some aspect of society. What do we... Oh, my goodness. What do we think that is meant to represent? What's our kind of thesis belief about Happy Feet? Or maybe, even better question, what was the moral? Like, what, as a kid, Sally, what did you take away from Happy Feet? How has it changed you as a bright young mind? 30.88. Tune into Full Send Racing Network on Behind the Wheel Weekly for quality mid-2000s niche cartoon content. Never forget Happy Feet won Best Animated Movie at the Oscars that year, by the way, so... I've always in my head kind of taken it as a joke, but it's kind of, you know, maybe it's distasteful of me, because clearly the Academy disagrees. Although the Academy gets it wrong a lot, as those who follow this year's Oscars will tell you. So maybe I'm right. Maybe the Oscars. 30.894. Stay low. Deleted. Did a 30.679. Low. On the bottom. 3 wide. Outside. 2 wide. All right, we're just getting into some dicey times here. Just going to go a little bit silent if there's times where cars get too close. Really trying to get a handle on that inside line. I keep getting distracted by the arc some guys take into the corner, like the 7 car up high. He's running Corey LaJoie's old scheme from real NASCAR, and he is a Corey LaJoie type character. I'll tell you that, the way he's taking some of these turns. We're going to slow it right down. Start seeing a little bit of tire that way. Got to kind of tuck up here on the top groove. A little bit cleaner that time. A little bit cleaner. Starting to figure this out. Brake a little bit earlier in turn 1. Shallow entry, then roll back on throttle and outside tires. Beautiful. Thank you. 197. Still riding up a little bit. I see what you mean about the angle. Just got to get back on power a little bit earlier. Oh, and Mark Allen, welcome. You've met we were just talking about him, what I'm going to call the robot bouncer about chat stuff. Don't worry if he like tells you to knock off anything. Don't bother. Just capital messages are frowned upon using the chat bot for Streamlabs. But thank you for joining. Oh my goodness, this gentleman has just parked the bus in that corner there. Must be having an internet issue because he's now dropped out. That was insane. It's my first time in a virtual NASCAR in a number of months. It's always fun kind of getting back in a rhythm. NASCAR is a very kind of go with the flow kind of race discipline, and I forgot how much fun it is once you kind of get in that flow. Although again, I still have a lot to learn about the arcs I'm taking here. But we're making our way up the pack a little bit. Just looking on the graphics. It's funny for a guy who's used these for broadcast for a number of years. It's been a while since I've taken information off of these overlays. So we'll go 4 seconds back, which, given how long we are into the stint and how poorly I thought I was doing that first lap, not the worst. Doing all right.
0.083.
Those of you that have watched me on any kind of sim thing for a number of years or months will know that I tend to figure it out as time passes, either race by race in a season or lap by lap in a race. Once I know what I'm doing, I think I can execute pretty well. It's just about learning. Kind of a life lesson there too. I think one thing society today can really learn, not that I know anything, it's kind of the thesis of this whole thing, but I think with racing I often try to take a very open-minded approach and assume everybody, whether I have evidence or not that they are, assume everybody is better than me, or is at least more knowledgeable than me at whatever form of racing they're in. You know, kind of having that open-minded approach, always assuming there's an opportunity to learn even from people you don't expect to be able to. You know, something to that, and I feel like that's something that specifically maybe individuals in Toronto, not nobody I know to clarify, but I've often lamented socially about some of the pitfalls of the local culture here, and I think that's one. People kind of think they know all they know. Racing, that's something I like to think I'm pretty all right with. So the more info you guys can provide, let me know. Brett saying stay low. Yeah, I felt like the car was choking up getting back on the power. That was a little bit too hard on the steering input when I was all right. That time I just missed the corner. I'll really start backing it up here. I'm really trying to like follow this car and just kind of work on his line, but I should just be going off what you guys were saying.
31.469.
Shallow. Light turn on entry. Feathered throttle here. All right, we're gonna try to fix turn 3. Would you guys, so just for either you, Brett or Benjamin, all the way to the bottom, turn 3, just like really stick it in and commit? Is that the way to kind of approach it? Because if we go right here, that was a little too shallow. Oh, came in a little bit too sharp there. Got on the power too early. Really starting to catch this guy, and now we're starting to lose him again. So
1.548 are outside. Clear.
Really starting to get away from me here every once in a while. Alrighty, we will start committing all the way to the bottom. Thank you.
1.377.
As I endeavor to on lap 29 of 75, we're getting close to halfway here. As I get close here and the racing kind of settles into a groove, let's throw another little conversation piece in here for us to chew on. I like the idea that there are people from various different backgrounds in here. I guess it's kind of the appeal of streaming, but also people from different generations. Go real fast and real left. Thank you. But people from different generations, stuff like our brief gum conversation. Let's get kind of a new tidbit going. Let's maybe kind of. I don't want to name something that's going to make people feel like they're dating themselves. I was going to say favorite childhood show is always my go-to, but I know that people don't want to necessarily imply that they watched. Oh my goodness, this guy, our old friend Mr. Kodak, having some issues. Just give him the bumper and intimidate him. Alrighty. Now, Mark, would you say that would be bivouacking him, or am I misusing that term? I've often heard it, and I never want to use it in a derogatory sense. But is that just coming right up the back and go bumping him out of the way, or is there some nuance to a bivouac that I am not talented enough to replicate?
The guess is 1.2.
There we go, doing a little better there. All right, good note there by Brett. I heard the guide I was watching, the downshifting is, potentially viable later in the run. Give it a shot here. Really helping us make time up to him. Alrighty. Back end is completely gone around. We got steering issues here, but luckily, ladies and gentlemen, we can make it to the end on field. So if we can just make it back to the pits, car's trying not to turn. All right, could have been dangerous. That wasn't great. We got a faster pair. We'll just pit under green. We'll make this our one pit stop for the race. First time we tried it, I wasn't expecting the car to get that loose on exit. So second mistake of the day. Sorry, people, everybody at home. I've disappointed you, but we have a faster pair. The car will be back to speed.
2, 1, right here.
All right, quick repair here. Should be good. Gonna be a little short on fuel. We'll bank out a caution. I think we'll be fine here. Should be able to get back in it.
Okay, go.
If I had to guess based on how long Nashville is, probably going to go 2 laps down here. Going to be on the freshest tires of anybody. Probably going to find a second here in pace if I can get them up to temp pretty quick. So
that car's a lap down.
It's never too late. We can find a way to come back here. Just consider it the ultra undercut. A little bonk. I wish it was a little bonk, but as you saw, the corner after, the thing would not turn left, so unfortunately it was too much of a bonk to knock him down pit road. Guy's starting to pit now though, so I think we'll know a little bit better where we are on strategy compared to other people.
0.391.
Just gonna get back in the rhythm here while tires are cold. Just gonna be a little quiet for a minute, just kind of blow the corner entirely, but just gonna try to find the rhythm again. I think we had it for about 3 or 4 laps for a brief period, and then kind of lost it. So
30 points.
Get it going again.
9, 2. Deleted just did a 31 point.
Is clean air better here? That is a very good question. For those of you that don't know, clean air versus dirty air just refers to cars in front of you. I know we talked about the slipstream before when we were doing the road course race. Slipstream, very quickly, those of you that don't really know much about racing, slipstream very helpful in a straight line context. You know, removing drag, removing the effective air in front of you is good when you're trying to go fast in a straight line. For cornering, not always. Having somebody in front of you messing up the airflow can affect your car's aerodynamics. Dirty air can make a big impact in stock car racing at certain tracks, but stock cars tend to be less aero dependent in terms of the way they're designed for corners than things like an IndyCar or a Formula 1 car or the Formula 3 we were racing earlier. I will let any of my racing driver guys here answer that, but I'm going to say dirty air, not too much of a factor at Nashville, not high speed enough that I think the aero really matters. Aero wash tends to matter a little bit more at longer tracks with a little bit more high-speed unplanned undercut. I like to think if we can run some decent lap times here, it is a viable strategy. But we did plow the wall pretty hard there and lost a couple seconds. So we got a little bit to make up.
Cross flag halfway to the finish. 30.723.
We run our fastest lap of the race, but again, still feel like I got a lot to get to terms with here. Don't feel like I'm ripping the tires up too much. Benjamin and Brett, the 2 guys that are giving me advice tonight, for those of you that don't know them, 2 of the best tire savers I know. So if they say this line's the way to go, I trust that we shouldn't be ripping up the rubber too much. Starting to get back on the lead lap, you see William Martin up the road there in 11th. Is going to be, I believe, from this point, the same strategy as us, although he would have pitted a couple laps later, can probably make it on fuel, which we can't. Start conserving a little bit. I unfortunately don't have my fancy overlays that tell me how much fuel I actually have. I just have to go based on the iRacing estimate, which is saying we're a little bit short. We're just going to hope. We're just going to hope somebody either just loops it around on their own, or 2 guys battling somewhere, maybe a lap car gets into somebody. I hate banking on a caution because those of you that know my background at Bandit know that they never tend to go the way that I want them in terms of cautions, but we'll see. Maybe today's the day. Next-gen dirty air and clean air matters a lot. There you go. So to your question, Alyssa, I was wondering after I said it, just because like the next-gen car, for those of you that don't know, this is the current model of NASCAR. There's a Chevrolet, a Ford, and a Toyota. We're running the Ford. The current era of NASCAR, as every series is trying to do, is kind of working with their aero a little bit more. They're a more complex aerodynamic cars than back in the day. Generally speaking, if you want to know how race cars are evolving in terms of their design, this goes for NASCAR, Formula One. IndyCar hasn't changed their chassis in a decade now, but for those of you that don't know, chassis refers to the shape and bodywork of the outside of the car. So underneath it, it's a big metal skeleton with an engine in it. But the chassis is the outside. So it's the design of the shape, for those that want a clarification. But in general, every new era of car is moving more complex in favor of aerodynamics for like the dynamics of how cars race each other. And the next gen is no different. So because aero is more important, that would make sense. I assume the track wouldn't be too bad, but yeah, in terms of the car, definitely more aero dependent, and that's theoretically a good thing. They designed it intentionally that way so the racing is better, but that's let's go Ford there from Sally. I am a diehard Ford guy. I really like the way the Mustang looks on a NASCAR. The other options being the Chevrolet Camaro. Camaro's a good looking car too. The Toyota Camry, which you hear those three cars, I know none of them today. I think the luster's kind of died down for the Camaro. I know it was big in the Transformers era, back when it was in the Michael Bay movies. But Toyota Camry, next to those other two, like it's cool that the NASCAR is a nice looking piece of machinery, but next to those other two cars is a road car. Really not the most exciting thing. And I know NASCAR back in the day, I think the appeal was the term stock car, for those, again, I don't know, refers to the idea it's a road car that they've turned into a NASCAR. And the idea is like you see it on track on a Sunday, and then you go buy it at the showroom yourself. Missing the bottom end. You go buy it yourself, so like you can race the version of the car you see on TV. I don't know about you guys, but you know, very different price tag obviously, but the proposition of buying a Ford Mustang, especially the new Dark Horse one they run in NASCAR, versus the Toyota Camry, I don't know. I don't think there's much of a debate there whatsoever. Can you race with a Ford Escape? I was curious, Sally, if you're interested in Ford as in the racing side or more. I know you're a purist for the functional, you know, family-oriented vehicles. No Ford Escape. There is a they race Hyundai Elantras, not in NASCAR, but in various other forms of motorsport. So cars that you like wouldn't expect to have a racing variant. Sometimes it happens, but no, to my knowledge, no Ford Escape. As much as I wish there was.
That car is a lap down.
Agonizing here, folks. We're moving up here in the pack, but again, we are a little bit fuel short. Gonna start kind of lifting, coasting here where I can. Race car would you want to buy if you could? Presently, especially due to recent utilitarian race cars. I like that. Every race should have some sort of towing component. Or race car would you buy if I could? Those of you that don't know what I've been doing recently, for those of the Bandit guys, the reason I've missed so many Bandit Wednesdays is it because I've been doing the, up here in Canada, our Radical series, called BIRS Radical Canada, which is basically a purpose-built open wheel, not open wheel, sorry, it's closed cockpit, closed wheel well, open cockpit series. Purpose-built race cars, pretty good economically. By pretty good, I mean still expensive, but very popular ladder. A lot of guys run them on iRacing. But I actually won the Sim Series for it. There's a pretty big esports series, comes in multiple classes. I won my class. And as a result, get a real opportunity to run a Radical with, you know, there's a pipeline for real opportunity to really get to race it in the future. So would be very cool. That is like my obvious answer. It's where my heart kind of is right now. But if I could run any race car you could buy, avoiding the obvious answer, something like a Formula 1 car, anything like that. Oof. It's a very good question. I like the idea, and it's harder and harder to come by now. I like the idea of a race car I can own that is road legal. The idea of driving something to the track and then getting to race it is particularly something that's always fascinated me. Mazda MX-5's, again, road legal car that is altered very minimally for when they race it, but it's got a roll cage in it, which isn't street legal. Also doesn't have, I don't know if the rules are in windows, because people drive open cockpit Jeeps, but that would be a fun one. Realistically though, answer to your question, again, similar to before, long wind up to say, radical presently. This is where my heart lies with my kind of racing endeavors at the moment. But realistically, if I could buy my way in the IndyCar, I'd be there in a moment. Although, at the auto show today, I was talking a little bit about it. The NASCAR Modifieds, referred to as Whelen Modifieds, I think typically. I don't know if Whelen still sponsors the series, but Modifieds are really cool. They're like kind of a hybrid of they're a NASCAR, but they're open wheel. Really good wheel-to-wheel racing. I remember back in the day, I was for those of you that were NASCAR gamers, I was a NASCAR 06 guy. So they had a pretty good ladder you could just play. There was no online component, but just racing modifieds, crazy grip. They're like the lowest, I think probably the lowest running common open wheel car, or sorry, short oval cars, I should say. Like late models, I know they get to pretty low, but those are always the ones I think of. So they'd be cool to own, but again, functionally, not really a car you can do anything else with. Certainly not utilitarian like the Ford Escape. You mentioned a moment ago. 24 to go. It's a great call. We are currently in P3, but again, like we mentioned, unfortunately, we are fuel compromised at the moment, at least by a couple laps. If we were going to make an attempt at saving fuel, which likely wasn't realistic, we would have had to do it a few laps ago. So now we hope for a caution. Everybody, we hope for a yellow. We see if we can get a reset of the fuel and can also grab some new tires. We saved a set in the pits, but I don't know why I did, because we're gonna have 2 sets to the good. Gonna try to hold this guy up a little bit if we can, just for track position should we get a caution. Gonna have to put up real bad there. Just trying to be careful with my entry angle. This guy might throw it all the way to the bottom, which he will. A little bit of room. I was thinking we were gonna cross him over. He actually took that pretty well. So we'll settle in behind this fine gentleman. He's probably not dealing with the issues we are on fuel. So unfortunate stuff. That one mistake earlier, you got to think we didn't have that. If we didn't lose that time, we'd probably be, give or take, a second or two behind the leaders right now. And even in a race I don't feel like I've raced particularly well, we could make a go at my first win and my first, I think, full race in Nashville. Would have been nice, but not too late. Everybody out there, hope for a yellow, and we'll see what happens. Scare someone into a yellow. That's an idea, but we're good morality here at Full Send Racing Network. I know we have Full Send in the title, which has an implication of aggression, but we don't need to get into that. We can hope these 2 leaders wreck, because based on what I'm seeing in my timing numbers, they're having quite the battle there. I almost wish we could just put you guys up to them, and so you guys don't have to slum it out here in 4th with me. But oh boy. Kind of had a quick moment of understeer that I wasn't expecting, so. 31.4. We'll just kind of wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. Towards the end of the stream, we're coming towards the end. Again, we're going to be 6 laps short, so praying for a caution. Could make the finish interesting. But, so just to give you guys kind of a roadmap for the next 2 weeks. 2 more weeks of this. Again, it's for a class. You'll see 3 this stream and 2 more in total. Sorry about the issues with the stream at the beginning today with the overlays. I'm going to reset all that stuff before the stream next week. So it should be posted under the proper YouTube link next time. We won't have to jump over to a different stream. But for that, we're going to do, we're going to have our custom paint for that. Might put out the poll a little bit in advance, so you guys have time to select what track we do. Now that we got the kinks ironed out, we're probably going to start at 8 o'clock next Saturday. Should we do it Saturday? If it gets moved, I'll let you guys know. More than likely, it'll be Sunday if we do end up needing to move it. Next week is a lot of St. Patrick's festivities, and I'm not typically much of a St. Patrick's guy, although I say that. I'm wearing green, but more so because the last couple years I actually have made an effort to have plans. You guys at home, here's a great question. Where does St. Patrick's Day kind of factor into your, if you had to prioritize it, scale 1 to 10 as a holiday? Because some people I know just kind of overlook it. I know somewhat of a cultural background that I think everybody has just kind of adopted, like the same way that, no matter what religious background you come from, everybody's kind of, not everybody, but Christmas is very widespread of a celebration, even if you don't tackle it from a religious background. For St. Patrick's Day, like, is that something you guys still get pretty involved in? I know for the youth of the nation, it's, the drinking holiday, but I feel like as a kid it was a bigger thing. Maybe it's just because you're in school and you give out pretty green necklaces with shamrocks on them, but Very good idea there. Very good idea by Brett. We will turn the tires off on the next straightaway. So unfortunately, I do not have a button map to them. I'm always a click it on the setup kind of day. F-tier holiday. Yikes. Never met somebody who actively does not like St. Patrick's Day. That's a new one. Great day to be a university student. See, I disagree, because one of the problems with it, I find whenever celebrations fall on Sunday, professors do not care at all. Professors do not have any sympathy. They will schedule anything and everything the day after. It's one of those holidays that is unfortunate that, you know, I'm trying to think of a good example, but something like, you don't tend to have classes around New Year's, but, because you have Christmas holiday. But, like, I feel like there's some holidays professors are, like, sympathetic for. Even, like, I'm in a sport media major. The day after the Super Bowl, professors know not to put something the day after the Super Bowl. I feel like St. Patrick's Day, some of the older professors kind of look down upon, as though, like, the youth of today are better than St. Patrick's Day, and that shouldn't happen, unless they just absolutely eviscerate you the day after. Are you guys the same way? I tend to just get destroyed by exams. I often tend to have my last midterm around then. It's the redhead's attention she gets. Sally, I have so much sympathy for you as a redhead. I know South Park didn't do you any favors. I know St. Patrick's Day is a trying time. It's very trivialized. That's actually an angle I've never really considered. Our tires are shot here. I think guys took tires on that last stop, so we're just getting destroyed. But gonna try to hold on here again, see if we can get a caution. But as Brett said, the moment we need fuel, we're just gonna come in for a splash and top it off to hope to capitalize on strategy. But that would actually be a great angle to take in sports, because now that I think about it, redheads in sports are hard to come by. I feel like for me, I have to do a lot of documentaries and a lot of papers in my degree. I feel like every angle from which to tackle athletes, like athletic themes, have kind of been taken. Redheads in sports? Maybe untapped ground? Just saying? I don't know if Brett's still here, our other honorary redhead. Dire times here for these tires, man. Like, just nothing unturned in. We're still just going to dive it to the bottom. Maybe we'll go back to trying to gear shift. I'm a little afraid to do it, because that's what put us in this mess in the first place, was avoiding a down shift.
On the car in front. Spaghetti 1.4. Seconds 31.819.
She got burnt out on the field? What on earth? It's one of those weird areas where I don't know what's cancel-worthy in the redhead circles. I really don't. Like, it is, I feel like, a touchy subject matter, but, like, what is appropriate to discuss in the realm of... You're gonna be our guide here today, Sally, for redhead etiquette.
31.67.
Yeah, Justin Turner is a great example. He's somebody I always forget is a redhead. Like, I picture him quite vividly, but it's not until you actually see him, because he played for our local Toronto Blue Jays in person. Seeing him in person, it really does stand out quite a bit. So, redhead athletes. Again, that's the thing. Like, you'd feel like there should be a lot, because I feel like maybe it's the Sally and Brett bias, but I feel like I know a lot of redheads in my life. But in sports, underrepresented.
591.
Hide in caves and avoid the sun. I bet. For any of those of you, it's the final element that I want to see for next week's stream. If we can R&D for next week. There is a new subscriber notification that is programmed for this stream. I know a lot of you are coming from full send backgrounds, maybe know the channel. I don't normally ask for subscribers, because I'd rather it be a reflection of people's interest. But if one of you is not subscribed, give it a shot. Try subscribing to the channel, because theoretically, we have a subscriber notification that I want to see if it works. So, if any of you are not currently subscribed to the channel, throw it in. If for posterity you want to, then immediately take it back. I'm easy. But I just want to see, there is one program for every time we add a new subscriber, and I want to see if it goes off. You'll know it when you see it, so. We'll see. And if we don't, we'll add it to the long list of things to investigate for next week. Tyler Reddick is another good show. We're gonna pit for fuel this lap. For those of you wondering, when I hop in the pits, we have officially hit our limit on fuel and did not roll the cosmic dice to get a caution. But Tyler Reddick, another great one that, like, a guy that in my head you think of as brown-haired. Maybe that's the stigma. Maybe there's more than I think. You know, we're not highlighting the natural redheadness of redheads. Maybe that's the shortcoming I can tackle in sports. I already have my topic for my thesis paper, but this is a great secondary idea if all else fails. Can actually watch ourselves in the pits here. Apparently, the thing I lose focus on yapping most is my my throttle moderation. I keep speeding in the pits. Roy Halladay was a red. Was he really? Again, guy that, you know, big in the Toronto circles. Not a guy I ever think about as a redhead. There you go. I like the fact that, you know, we've talked about a lot of topics today. Not all of them have had a message. This one has a message. Maybe, you know. Maybe your local redhead, just go out and, you know, let them know that you know they're a redhead. Because I clearly forget for a variety of famous figures in history. Got a couple guys coming up behind us. We are a lap down, so we're going to hop out of the way. All right, well, we've also apparently messed up the pit exit line. So, gosh darn it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're new to the stream today. Not everything has gone the way we wanted, but I like to think we had some fun.
Pit box in 10.
Drive-through penalty. We've got to go all the way through. No sub-notification, eh? I know there's a limit. They limit people who were subscribed and unsubscribed because they don't want people, like, jumping back and forth over the line, like spamming it a bunch. But that is disappointing. We will add it to the list for next week. RIP. Very sorry, folks. I like to think this was a more promising race a little while ago. And also, not much happened. You know, maybe we'll find a new series for next week. Very peaceful time. If I was coming in for just a quiet night of oval racing, this would be great. But first time running this particular Saturday series. Who knows? Maybe we'll need to look for... Oh my goodness. Run that pit stop back. We're going to do it a third time, baby. I do not understand this pit road exit. And for that reason, we're just going to bring it right in. I assume it's a pit exit line that I just don't know. Didn't run into it in under yellow for whatever reason. We did a pit stop under yellow, didn't have a problem, but ladies and gentlemen, we've just tanked this, unfortunately.
3, 2, 1. White flag, 1 to go. Right here.
This will be the last lap. Good practice. Very true. That's what today is. Today is getting our stuff together. I'm really excited for these final 2 streams once we have everything up and working. I hope it's fun. I hope the initial link will work next time. Sorry for those of you that tried to use the initial one. Ran into some troubles as obviously I did today. So we got to figure it out. I'm going to assume it's this blue cone, run a little closer to the line. That's probably it. An annoying thing to mess up, but congratulations to Mr. Mitchell Williams, who is, I know, is kind of the ringer of this series when it comes specifically to the short ovals, but pretty good at the big ovals too. Mitch, I posted this in the Discord if you happen to be watching it. Congrats to you. Close race too. Yeah, 0.16 of a second. Maybe we're gonna go back and watch the last lap of their race. But that'll cap it off for our effort. We come home 12th because a number of guys also didn't finish. But a very subpar effort from myself, just in general today on the racing front. I am apologetic to those of you that were expecting big results. Next week, we're going to bring it back. Where was your crew chief when you needed him? Let's go back and watch that. Just get a quick replay on that finish. Just so you guys can get a little bit of racing action from to aid the disappointing night that was ours. So the 16 car is Williams. The 85 car, I believe, is a gentleman named Brandon Cowell. This is, I believe, coming to 2 laps to go. Really nice 85. I like the number font there on that 85. Very big, but a very eye-catching gold there. Around the final corner, coming to the white flag here. 9 car kind of gets a little bit involved. I know it looks like he's out the way, but kind of holding up that top line. Neither guy can go as hard as they want. They had to kind of back it up. Gets out of the way here, though. This was the last lap, and that 85 car was there all the way. I see what we're talking about. Both guys just running right to that bottom line, about a half lane up. Off the last time through turn 1. 3 and 4. 85 was right there, but you could kind of see that 16 just has that little bit more pace. Brings it home. There you go, ladies and gents. Hoping the next 2 weeks that'll be us in a different series. Kind of gets to the bottom there. Makes it look like more of a photo finish than perhaps it was. But there you go. That'll wrap up this race, and more or less that's going to bring us to the end of tonight's stream. We're going to hop out of here. We'll maybe take one more look as a final thing as we jump back to Crazy Frog. Yes, I was literally just thinking right as I got back into starting to speak in a commentary voice. I felt the need to stop myself. It's a natural habit that we need to hold off on. I have 70 years of time to be a commentator. Let's not start now. Final thing we're going to send off with before we look at our images for the car for next week. What on earth simply is this? Where is this? What theme park would have a Crazy Frog cast suit? Crazy stuff to look at. All right, Crazy Frog outro. Oh man, if I had the guts to put some copyright music in here, again, it is for a class. I'm a little bit worried about the prospect of copyrighted content. We're gonna look through here. These are our images for next week's car. As I put it into the wrong monitor. Here we go. Images for next week's car. We're gonna edit this. It's gonna be Josh jumping over a player. We are going to, or sorry, not jumping over a player, I should say, jumping over our man Crazy Frog we just discussed. This is not in order at all. Shout out Eddie Haggy, whose number I happen to have. Up a croc. We're gonna do a croc under, I think we said above the wheel well, maybe next to the wheel well to make it look like the car's feet. We discussed a crocodile themed car. That is the close to crocodile we're gonna get. I do not know what this is sorting by, so we're gonna stop doing that. Date modified. All right, well, we'll try ordering it like this. Crazy Frog, he's going to be jumped over by somebody. We'll put him in the scheme. This picture's horrific, and I actually think because it's a weirdly fuzzy texture, it'll be actually difficult to make transparent. This is the sofa bed that it's not an image file. I'll have to transfer it. But a picture of an IKEA couch. The IKEA logo is going to be a theme. Maybe that'd be a nice blue to make the actual car. We may aim for that for the color. Team Liquid, a Counter-Strike team that is in the middle of a big tournament right now, so best of luck to them. Our boy Spencer Steer from Michael's Cincinnati Reds with his beautiful Viking helmet and his beautiful close-up, zoomed-in picture. We'll find a way. Maybe that'll be the front hood. Potential front hood car. There's the commercial we downloaded for this very stream. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of Behind the Wheel. Some slip-ups to work through. There was a lot there at the intro. Sorry for those that jumped in the initial version of the stream. Had to hop over to the second one. Thanks for bearing with me. We are going to hopefully get things even more... Oh my goodness, we got real close there. We're just going to leave Spencer Steer on the close shot. I like this kind of side-by-side we got going. Still Team Hedgehog, yes. Actually, you know what? That's where we're going to wrap up. We are going to pull a picture of a hedgehog for Sally. On the top, you can peek all my tabs of me trying to troubleshoot from earlier. Hedgehog, beautiful. All right, Sally, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a pig. I simply do not know why this is featured in the hedgehog tab. I guess it's a pig. I guess that is a hedgehog. He just has a very pig nose. So there we go. 6 guys here, 5 on the bottom, 1 to 11. Sally, pick a number for your hedgehog picture. But thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in today. We're gonna kind of work this out a little bit later. Gonna kind of tweak it and fix it and make sure we're up to quality standard, at least by the 3rd week. I know it's for a class, but I would love to make a good product here. Maybe make it something we can do on Twitch in the future. So, Sally, 1 to 11. Just give me a number here as we wrap up, and then we will do a send off. Again, those of you curious, I'm thinking potentially Sunday we may move the time to for next week. Probably the same time. Like I said, we're gonna do 8 p.m. Eastern, 7:45. Photo 2 for sure. He looks very. I still don't know what demure means, but I'd imagine this is close. He does look quite poised and I don't know. I'm gonna stop using descriptors on a picture of a hedgehog. So. There you go. Hedgehog will be on the car for next week. Stay tuned. We're gonna have some fun paint scheme stuff next week. We're gonna get more interactive stuff involved. I was making a prototype for it, knowing nothing worked today. It probably wouldn't have worked either. An interactive tic-tac-toe game. What if I said you at home could play games on stream in the corner the entire time? And maybe I could commentate that whilst racing. So we'll see if we can get some games working. Gonna make it fun, gonna improve. 8 p.m. Gonna say next Sunday hesitantly. We'll change it if things move around. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Debut episode of Behind the Wheel here on Full Send Racing Network. 2 more weeks. We'll see you in the next couple. Everybody be safe out there, whether it be the cold, various school scenarios. I know, obviously, I'm very busy, not just with this, but in general. So, everybody, best of luck with your midterms if you're out there for school. Best of luck with life in the cold if you're up here in the north. And in general, we all got our own battles we're fighting. So, best of luck, soldiers. We'll see you next week. Full send it in life. We'll make